Shiro Mirumoto, the castle where you have sworn yourselves to, has fallen. We can still see smoldering buildings, civilian town houses and buildings and shops that are burning and smoldering from the fires that had overtaken them during the assault. Banners of Dragon Clan and Mirumoto family tattered, burned away in some cases, or stripped from their places entirely. Bodies strewn about everywhere, throughout the fields, throughout the buildings, throughout the castles. You lost. War came. The enemy came to your gates. They challenged you and your people. You could not stop them. In the mixture of pain from battle and shame from failure, you find yourselves on the end of a losing proposition. You failed your lord. You could not defend him. You could not beat back the forces who invaded you. And by all rights, uh, the easiest course would be to just end your own life, commit seppuku. But it's not always so simple. For you've heard that Mirumoto Genpachi, the daimyo of this castle, has not died, but he's been taken captive, a prisoner of war, meant to be ransomed off to the family or for some other political purpose. They've not yet taken him from Shiro Mirumoto. He's being held within his own castle. And if there's any chance that he's alive and that you could save him, it's your sworn duty as a samurai to try. As we see the fields outside the castle, the bodies piled up of Dragon Clan and of the warlord's forces alike, mixed together in a sea of blood and fire. The white flowers that used to hang over this field, a beautiful sight when it was properly here, are now not much more than ash in the smoke of battle. And we see one samurai in particular begin to stir from the unconsciousness of war. Mirumoto Hubo, you're lying there. Your body aches everywhere. You can feel bruises and cuts stinging across your whole body, your head pounding. For a moment, you think that you've passed on, but then you feel your breath begin to move. Your eyes flick open to the dusk sky above you that hangs. What's going through your mind? What do we see as you're laying here in this field of corpses? Somehow you've not passed on.
Hubo would begin to kind of heave himself up from this prone position. He is breathing in the thick fumes of smoke and the stench of death. But he knows that he still breathes, and he knows he can still fight. Because one of us, my lord or Hubo, has yet to finish their dying breath. And with this resolution, he will stand almost as stoutly and as proudly as the moment when the warlord's forces marched through the gates. And with this resolution, as he picks up his massive war club, the Tetsubo that he wields with his great tree trunk arms, he'll begin to stir and assess the situation.
The carnage around you is pretty dire. It's severe. You can see, even amongst your own forces and the enemy's forces, that there's few survivors. That this was not a decisive victory, and that very few people seem to stir around you. But as you move through, resolute to finish your duty, to not forsake your honor, even in the most dire circumstance, you do see someone begin to stir. The grunts of agony still hang under their breath, um, and their wounds do not look mortal. It seems like they may yet survive the day too, or at least survive the moment. Agasha Toritomi, what does Hubo see as he sees this person begin to stir, still clinging desperately to life despite the loss, and what's going through your own mind?
He would see a bit of rubble from a fallen wall kind of bulge and pulsate, and a cursing deep voice calling out from underneath, "God damn it!" And the stone will be pushed off to the side, and up stands a a thin man with his black hair in what was a fairly well kept tie behind his head is now miskempt and falling along the side of his head. He has a large gash along the side of his skull, and his arm runs with streaks of blood from his shoulders. He looks around, kind of dazed. The only word that you would really hear that would make any kind of sense at all is he seems to be calling out a name. Shugu! Shugu! And I start to look around as if I don't even recognize the rubble of where I stand now.
No, only Hubo. As he would help you to your feet and kind of center you a bit, helping brush off the pieces of rubble off of your diminutive frame.
I would look at you quizzically. No, idiot, my cat! Shugu!
And he'll wildly look around for a cat, but otherwise giving no heed to this this now strange man who became a little bit stranger to him. As Hubo will continue to look amongst the not so dead in this carnage field.
Yeah, and as the two of you begin to look around for Cat and for anything else that might catch your eye. Amongst the sea of the dead, yet another stirs, just barely rising from unconsciousness, from failure. Yet another person that seemed to have survived. Togashi Funaki. What do the other two see as they see yet another person who has not managed to find themselves dead in this battlefield? What are your first thoughts as you realize that you've fallen, failed in battle, yet still survive?
So they see a young woman stir, heavily tattooed on her body. Her long, dark hair done up into braids, which are now a little tousled and unkempt. And she struggles to her feet. You see, and are maybe a little confused at why she was even on the battlefield, as she's not dressed in any armor and seems to hold no weapons but a staff, which she uses to help her get herself to her feet. And she brushes off her skirts and she looks around. seeing the carnage that is everywhere, taking it all in, and in the process scanning the field, trying to find any evidence of her lord. And her eyes would fall upon this large man, Hubo. And she would approach. Is this all of us?
Maybe more.
Such
As Hubo kind of like looks around and, there's a lot of dead bodies here, and maybe some of them are still alive.
such carnage. We failed, our lord.
No, we have yet to succeed. Difference.
What do you mean? He yet lives?
And he'll give like a reassuring grunt, but it's not one that like you'd believe that would be like he has knowledge that the Lord lives, and more like he has like the inclination, or like just what other choice is there than if the Lord lives, if that makes any sense. Almost like a faith in that he lives.
And she would take that as some sort of reassurance. It would maybe center her a little bit that, well, you believe there's hope. Sure. We'll believe that there is hope as well.
And he'll just like thump his chest to denote that he agrees with you.
And
And now we are Jeffless.
Tora told me you are still on the field. Are you still shouting for your cat? So,
Yes, I'm kind of wandering a few steps from you guys as calling into the rubble, and after a few moments of no answer, I kick a rock up against the wall and work my way and turn around and walk my way back to you.
and while he's still around there kicking and calling, she'll turn to Hubo and say, "Who is it? Shugo? I don't remember what you said. Shugu. Shugu.
Cat.
Yes, he's my cat. He's my traveling friend. He was with me during the attack. Have you seen him? He's orange and white, green eye, and blue. Very personable.
I am sorry. No. I. If he was actually on this field at any point, but she would have seen him, but not in the last, I don't know, well, since she woke up anyway, she hasn't seen him. Shugu.
Yeah, so as you guys continue to move around to look for any signs of survivors, to try to find a plan of what to do next, most of the bodies you scan lie still. forever gone. But you see another that begins to stir. Another samurai, Mirumoto Masashi. What do the others see as you return from the space between life and death, barely clinging to this world? And what's going through your mind as you see them coming towards you?
I think that the only thing that the three see is a samurai lay flat on his back with a once nice set of Ashigaru armor now scarred from the battle. Once a helmeted head now knocked away with some sort of blow. You see the face, Misashi, kind of battered and banged up, black hair tied back into a ponytail. And as he comes to, he just looks into the smoke-filled sky, thinking about how he let his lord down. And he thinks more about how he's going to get better. How could he possibly come back from letting his lord get taken from his own castle? And as he lays in contemplation, a big shadow kind of overcasts him, and he looks up. Hubo-san?
And he grunts in affirmation.
He picks up his arm, reaching out a hand to you to help up.
And he heaves you up with a, just almost like lifting you up off your feet.
So, this isn't yet over.
No.
We need to go to Shiro Mirumoto now.
And he'll nod in approval of that. As Hubo looks around and sees just a bunch of corpses now. Perhaps none other survivors.
And Toritomi would look to the group and palm his daisho. We find ourselves in fighting condition.
If I breathe, I fight.
I would chuckle at that. I believe that.
As long as there's any hope that the Lord lives, I fight. But Masashi doesn't quite pass it off as well as Hubo does. He looks pretty visibly hurt, but he's standing as stout as he can.
I think Hubo would kind of crack his neck in a sickening way, but only in the way that someone who does it habitually could do it. As he hefts his massive Tetsubo and readjusts his lamellar armor, his lacquered armor, and readjusts that face mask he wears, and maybe it's cracked a bit and chipped from the battle. I think we'd go into the ruin now. I think Hubo would definitely lead.
Yeah, so you guys would know, having lived here quite some time, if not your whole life. So you died out in the fields, which would be across the bridge from the castle. So in order to get back into the castle, you'll have to cross back over the bridge, unless you wanted to find another way around, which would be quite difficult considering that there's a moat and sheer cliffs that guard the other sides. So it might be possible, but the most direct path would be across the bridge.
And Hubo goes for the most direct. He's not a man of subtlety. He has a very low air ring, so let's go ahead.
And if there's any of you who have points in your tactics skill and would like to make a check, any of you can do so right now. Your target number is going to be 2 to make that.
So I have 2 ranks in tactics. So somehow this man,
Perfect.
who is Hubo, apparently has a mind for tactics.
I also have
So
tactics.
I'm going to roll this.
What would it
Alrighty.
just be the skill tactics?
So you would pick a ring, which would be your approach,
Okay.
as to like what sort of a manner in which you would uh, conduct that, and then you would use your tactic skill. So you'd roll however many ring dice you have in that ring, and then you'd roll skill dice for however many points you have in tactics.
Okay.
So
And then
let's say
you'll
I'm
keep
choosing.
the total number of. Sorry, you go ahead.
No, you finish your sentence and then I'll ask.
And then you can basically keep a number of dice equal to the ring that you use for that skill. So if you have a ring of 3 for Earth and you use Earth, then you can keep 3 dice for the check.
Awesome.
And so on.
So a ring dice is the black one and a skill dice is the a white one?
Yes.
Or is that backwards?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I have a.
Nope, that's correct.
I'm going to go for Earth. I'm going to just like withstand and just go head on. Unless you want fire. They're equal, whether it's fire or Earth.
Me
That's
too.
3.
I'm
And
using
then-
fire as well.
All right. I think fire actually is like just direct. And then
We're just
2
trying
tactics.
to get across. Hurrying
Yeah.
up.
So that'll be 2
Yeah, so what's your
white.
fire?
I have a 3 fire.
Me too.
Yeah, so you'll roll 3 ring dice and then 2 skill dice.
Now we total of 5 dice and roll them. Okay. And there's a lot of strifes that I rolled. So I picked 3.
Up to 3. So you don't actually have to keep all the dice. So the target number is 2. So that means you need 2 successes to succeed on the roll.
And does an explosive success
so-
count as 3 successes?
An explosive success counts as 1 success, but once you keep it, you re-roll the dice, and you also keep that extra result for free, so it doesn't count as your total keeping.
Okay.
I rolled
You
2
basically
successes.
roll another that dice, yeah.
I have 2 successes, 2 opportunities, and 1 strife
Perfect.
off 3 dice.
Okay. So I rolled 1 success, 2 opportunities, and 2 strifes, but also an explosive success, which means another black die.
Okay, so
I
roll
roll
another black die then.
Roll another black.
Mhm.
That got
Or
me.
you can choose to. So you
Yeah.
you do have to keep the explosive dice if you roll it, no matter what.
That got me another success and another strife. So for a total of 3 strife, 2 success, and 2 opportunities.
Alrighty, and let me grab the opportunities.
I'll just throw that in the chat because that's complicated.
I always forget where the opportunities thing is.
You weren't lying.
I'm still
3 strife off that.
I think the strife is pretty easy for both of you, and it's just gonna come from seeing the carnage as you assess the everything that's happened, trying to like analyze the strategy, and you can't help but take in the absolute destruction of it, and even the strongest man would have a tough time keeping sane with that level of damage that's been sustained.
Yeah, I feel like
As far as the there you go.
that would kind of manifest in Hubo as like a bit of like anger or at least like frustration at all this. He's getting kind of like loud. He's just getting very, very noisy and angry.
Whenever Misashi deals with any kind of stressful situations, it's pretty easy to tell because he normally has a loud mouth and he talks and he's kind of blunt. Whenever he's dealt with these stressful situations, he just shuts down his communication as he thinks about how best to go about what's in front of him. He's awfully quiet.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm just like seething with hatred about this warlord's people.
And as far as the opportunities go, So what ring did you guys use? Did you both use
Fire.
fire?
I use fire.
All right. So the options for fire in this scenario for opportunity, you can inflame another character and give them strife, which I don't think that you want to do because you only have friends around you right now. If you
And the
want
cat.
to, yeah, if you want to, you can perform the task in a flashy way, which would basically draw attention to you guys, which again may not be the wisest point here. But then there's also you can spend 2 opportunity to notice something missing or out of place in the vicinity, not directly related to the task. At the GM's discretion.
So I will say that Hubo is not the wisest, and him being flashy might just be a side effect of him approaching on a bridge. But I do like the idea of like noticing something. So this was like a tactics roll.
I would
Just like
also
noticing
like
something
that.
that seems, it seems amiss in this scene.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of between the two of you, you kind of start to like, one of you notices a tiny bit, you kind of begin to like bounce off of each other. And it begins to strike you as kind of strange what's happened here. Typically, if war is fought to like capture somebody, then it's a very careful battle. It's very specific in its execution and very cautious in its approach. Yet, the battle here seems to have been exceptionally destructive for both sides. To the point where it's nearly a Pyrrhic victory, even for the warlord. Like, so many of his own people have died, and there's so few of survivors on either side that it strikes you guys strange as you begin to like kind of work off of each other that they would go this far for a hostage. Because you would imagine that he would either be like ransomed off or traded for political favors, but the cost and what they've done in terms of equipment and loss of life is like dramatic for a goal that would be that simple. And I think as you kind of survey the battlefield and see how destructive everything is for what they've accomplished, it would begin to hit you as a bit strange.
Would I have an advantage called Subtle Observer? Would that help in any way in this?
So yes, in just a moment. There's definitely a way that'll come up here.
Okay.
Like as you guys get to the bridge, that'll definitely factor in. So it would strike the two of you as very strange, like what the goal was compared to what the cost was, and that you think if the goal was just to capture somebody, that they would have quit when they realized that it was going to be so costly to them. As far as the advantages, noticing something that's not related. Let's see. I think something that would catch your eye as well is that nobody on this battlefield that you can see that was on the enemy's side has any sort of family or clan mons on their garb. And like you didn't quite notice it during battle, but it's now definitely caught your attention after the fact. That even the actual samurai, not counting just the Ashigaru, the foot soldiers, but even the samurai warriors do not have anything denoting where they would be from or why they would have attacked or who they belong to. And that would catch your eye as well. And that's what the two of you kind of putting your tactical knowledge together would have seen.
This is unlike any battle I've ever studied, but I will press on until we do one of two things. We find the daimyo, or we find his body. Until then, we can't be certain that he's gone.
And he just gives you a grunt of agreement as we press on forward through this bridge, stepping over bodies and across loose
Yeah.
planks.
So as you all make it towards the bridge, the side of it beginning to loom, Um, uh, I lost the names in the chat, but I have it here. Toritomi, uh, you've trained your eyes and your ears more effectively than the other people. And even as the bridge lays out of sight, or at least the edge of the bridge is still kind of on the horizon, and you move towards it, your sight picks something up before the others can see it. On the bridge, the first survivor that you've seen yet, and not just one, but 3 men are patrolling the bridge. They're keeping watch, and you see no Dragon Clan marking on them. You realize that this must be the enemy. One of them is a samurai, or at least you'd imagine so, and he's accompanied by 2 Ashigaru men. And they're patrolling the bridge in staggered facings so that each side and area of the bridge is covered as they move. And before they catch your eyes, your sight being much keener than them and of the other of your friends, you can tell that they have not seen you guys yet. Though if you approach much closer, they will.
Is there? I imagine there's a lot of debris falling down.
Yes.
Can we subtly approach? Can we?
Yeah. Sorry.
Can we subtly approach? I would like to get everybody's attention and point up there and fall down into almost a defensive stance and quickly look around to see if there's any way that we might be able to sneak up on these guys and strike a first strike.
So with the way that they're patrolling, it would be difficult to catch all of them, but perhaps you might be able to get to the edge of the bridge to catch one of them, kind of the edge of the patrol, and surprise them.
That would still lessen their advantage. I'm all about that.
If you'd like to roll me a skullduggery to approach, to bring you and your friends closer without getting seen.
That would use the void ring, right?
So the approach is yours to choose. So there's no single ring that goes with any single skill. It kind of depends on. It's like approaches in Fate, where you kind of decide how you're going about it.
Oh, okay.
And they give you suggestions on the character sheet too to help you kind of like.
Yeah. If you
figure
look
them out.
on the character sheet in the trade skills section where skullduggery is, so like an air approach that says con, so maybe you do something to distract them or trick them, or fire is innovate, so you find some clever way.
Okay, I got you.
So it kind of depends. So however you think your character would go about it, you can describe it, and then we can find a ring that would make the most sense.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to. Would it be fair to say I innovate a way to get close to them using large chunks of debris along the battlefield here? Or would that be another ring?
Yeah, I think that could make sense. So basically, there's all these. I think that even outside the actual castle, that there's probably like buildings that were on the outskirts, kind of like more peasant buildings that were not inside the walls of the castle. I think a lot of those at this point have been like razed and burned or collapsed in some other way, or destroyed.
Perhaps even piles of bodies?
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Now, I don't have any skill in skullduggery, so I'm using just my ring dice, yes?
Yes. So whatever your score is in that ring, you'll just roll that ring dice. And you can still.
Cool. So I got 2 successes and an opportunity.
Perfect. All right, so that will be enough to succeed. So yeah, you're able to kind of find these areas where the buildings have been collapsed and piles of bodies block view. And even though the mouth of this bridge is massive and the patrol is well constructed, you're able to make it to like where the bridge kind of meets the side, where there's a point that their view is blocked, and they won't see you approach towards the edge of the bridge. You know, once you spring out from the bridge, that their attention will be called, but perhaps one of the Ashigaru who's helping to patrol this bridge will sneak his way out there before the others can see what happens.
Cool.
And as far as the opportunity, let's see, this was a... All right, so you have a couple choices with fire, since this was a trade ability. So you can either inflame a character with some strife who is in the scene, which in this case, now that you're here, would be any of the 3 patrolmen. Or you can also, if you'd prefer, you can it's the other option would be unusual inspiration strikes. You can add a kept void and a ring dice to an opportunity for free next time you make a check. So either one of those options.
I want to hold back 1 dice to add to it. I had 1 opportunity, so I'll just hold on to that die right over there. My next check.
Alrighty, yeah. So you kind of get into this kind of groove of efficiency. You found a nice rhythm where you can move place to place, ready to strike. And that momentum will continue as inspiration continues to strike you. And the next check, you'll have that advantage.
Excellent.
So the 4 of you have been led by Toritomi from collapsed building to pile of body to a flag that's like draped over rubble and so on until you've reached the mouth of this bridge. And you've kind of gathered off to one side of where the gate is. The gate itself has been broken down and is no longer connected to block the way. But there's enough room to hide along one of the walls. And as one of the Ashigaru patrolmen will make it towards the other edge of the bridge and go to scan around, because you've successfully stealthed your way here, you will have 1 action to do for free before he'll be able to spot you and call anything out.
The enemy ranks number how many? I believe I missed that part.
There's 3 of them. One of them is a samurai, or at least appears to be, and 2 kind of Ashigaru, which are more foot soldier infantrymen. And the one who's approached at the end of the bridge is one of the infantrymen.
I would like to invoke Hubo's passion, which is Daredevil. Risking my life without consideration or even hesitation, I put myself at risks and consequences that are obviously dire. I think I'm just going to run in and just like clothesline him or like charge him and bull rush him, paying no heed to my own safety into the fray for this.
All right.
Maybe even like howling and laughing at this.
Yeah, you let out a scream and charge forward and attack. So you can go ahead and make an attack against him. And that'll be the action that you guys will have going into this. And then you can also remove 3 strife as a result of playing into your passion.
Awesome. All right. I would like to just bring 2 hands of a Tutsuba over and smash this guy in. How do I make an attack roll here?
Alrighty.
Martial arts
so
melee.
You'll choose a ring approach as well.
Yeah.
You'll choose an approach like normal, whichever ring matches your how you're going to attack, and then your martial arts melee.
Awesome. So this is going to be overwhelm using fire with a martial arts skill of 1. That'll give me 4 dice, pick 3, I believe.
Alrighty. And just so you guys know, since at this stage we will definitely be moving into combat, the stance that you use to attack does offer some slight other benefits. which you may want to look at as you're deciding. So on the second page of your character sheet, so
Oh,
for
hell yeah.
example, Connor, you're choosing
Oh.
fire stance,
Yeah.
which means that you can use strife symbols that you roll to add extra successes to your attack because you're in fire stance.
So strifes count
And
both
other
as
rings will have
strife.
other benefits, yeah.
So, okay,
And
I did
extra
fire
bonus
stance.
successes, yeah.
Awesome. So you act as
So
both
the
strife
target
and
number
success.
to
Yeah.
succeed on an attack is always 2 for a melee
Okay.
attack, unless there's extenuating circumstances.
So as part of a fire stance, I get 3 successes, an opportunity, and a strife.
Alrighty, so you'll add that strife to your composure track, but then you'll also count that as a success, so that'll be 4 successes total.
Correct.
And you said 1 opportunity?
Yeah.
Alrighty, so for 1 opportunity, you can either perform the task in a flashy way, drawing extra attention to yourself, or you can choose to give another character in the scene a strife.
No, he will definitely attract attention himself as he bashes this guy in and just like makes a big noise, and he's trying to draw all the attention of the other foot soldier and the samurai onto himself, Hubo, to make this actually a challenge, as he is very competitive in this nature.
Alrighty, so then the first 2 successes will just track towards hitting him. So what damage does a Tetsubo do?
It does 7 damage
Whew, that's a
and
lot.
a 3 deadliness. I don't quite know what the deadliness score does.
The deadliness is for if you get a critical hit. It determines like what level of severity the critical effect will be.
Gotcha. Okay, so 7 damage. Oh, let's see.
Alrighty, so because you
When I
got
s-
2 bonus successes, you'll actually deal 2 extra damage, so it'll be 9 damage total.
Gotcha. And I do
But
have
he
a
does have
technique called
some
striking
defense.
as earth.
Okay. So
That's
you did
something,
not use Earth
yeah.
Stance, so you cannot use that for this
Gotcha.
attack.
Yeah, no, you are right. You are right. Right, I guess that's the end of my turn.
Yeah, so despite his Ashigaru armor that he wears, this infantryman is no match for a proper samurai, especially one with your bulk, and you will actually kill him with this attack. What does that look like?
As I bring this giant tree trunk of a Tetsubo around, and just it collides and smashes into his rib cage, and the teeth of the Tetsubo dig into his armor and cave it in further, allowing all that concussive force going right to his bones, and the whole blow sweeps through and knocks him flying, this now ravaged corpse of a man, against the side of the wall, which is probably how I drew the attention of the 2 other warriors, as just this corpse lands in a thud against the stone wall, and they notice me now.
Yeah, immediately there will be a shout from the other Ashigaru, who will scream out as he sees this massive man smash his companion down into the wall, and the samurai will turn and let out a surprised gasp as well, not expecting to see somebody actually come to attack, especially what to him is a single samurai, and he will yell to the other to ready for battle, and we will go ahead and roll initiative. So how initiative works before we get too crazy. You'll pick a ring like normal. If you have the tactics skill specifically, you can add that to your roll. And then you'll also add your focus. So whatever your focus is, you'll add that number just as a flat number of successes. So if you roll 1 success on the dice and you have a 3 focus, you'll have 4 successes. So there's no target number, there's no anything, just roll the ring that you're choosing, tactics if you have it, and then add your focus to the successes, and then put that all in the chat.
You only use the max amount for your ring. Is that correct? For the final
So you'll
number?
you can only keep the number of dice equal to whatever the ring that you use is.
Gotcha.
And whichever ring that you use, you will start in that stance in the conflict. So the stances are listed on the second page, and they do have like extra small effects that will count. So depending, you may want to take that into consideration.
So one
Yeah,
more
so let
time.
me know the successes. Yep, go ahead.
one more time. It's the ring we choose plus focus plus tactics if we have it.
Yes.
So the focus
And then
is adding dice that we're rolling, or focus is just adding
no,
success?
it's just a flat successes. Yeah.
And we don't count strife
So
on
it'll
this?
just you do always count strife.
Okay.
So if you want to keep dice with strife on them, you will take that strife.
All right.
And then let me
so-
know in the chat the number of successes and opportunities, and then also which ring that you used. Just so I know. And then while we're getting that sorted, I'm gonna run to the bathroom like super quick. I'll be back in like literally 1 minute while the initiative is calculated.
Two exploding dice on that roll.
I love the fire stance of like strifes kind of successes for you.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it?
Oh yeah. And I'm so glad that like my strife, my passion helps me reduce my strife, but also like getting strifes accelerates my passion is great. Just like I get to
A vicious
micromanage my
cycle.
strife really easy. With my daredevil passion and then my ferocity anxiety, I'm just like playing around with my strife a lot.
Okay, so I rolled enough dice for my focus and fire. You just said that strife counts as success for fire stance?
So you don't roll the focus as dice. Focus
Yeah,
is
you don't
just
roll focus,
automatic
yeah.
strength.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah,
So,
so you'll just add the focus as bonus successes.
gotcha. Okay. Well, then let me just re-roll altogether then.
And there's one thing that I want to chime in before we get really initiative-y. I have the ferocity anxiety. When I strike, I have trouble holding back my power, and I lash out. When I defeat a minion NPC, the minion is always killed, even if I prefer to incapacitate them. I don't know if that applies
Perfect.
if I want to only subdue them, or if it just whenever I kill someone.
Yeah, so basically if your damage outdoes their endurance, you
Yeah.
will kill them whether you want to or not.
And so that just happened there. Do I get the 3 strife and a void point because of that? Because that's my anxiety.
Your intent was to kill though from the start, correct?
Correct.
I also have
Cool.
ferocity.
We're all just a bunch of ferocious mongrels.
So I think in this case specifically, I don't think so. And here's why. So for one, you were trying to kill him. There was never any
Mhm.
attempt to hold back or to like prevent damage.
Okay.
And given that this person that you just killed is an Ashigaru and like not a samurai, there would be no expectation to like preserve anything from him. Like
Okay,
there would
cool.
be no
So
purpose to keeping
this
him alive
anxiety would happen
because his
more in
status
like,
is below you. Yeah.
when I'm just like, trying to just like beat someone into submission but not kill them, and I actually accidentally cave their face in by accident. Like, ah, shit.
Hmm.
Right? That's where the
Yeah,
anxiety comes in. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh
exactly,
crap!
yeah.
I'm anxious because I killed this guy by accident. Okay.
Basically,
Cool.
Negan.
All right. That is my aside.
All right. And then I'm just. Oh wow. Hmm. Those initiatives seem, and I guess they're okay. They seem a little low. But that's fine. Okay, so you got 6. So, sorry, I'm just getting my list set up here. I'm still gonna get used to everything. So, Kubo, you smash this infantryman, this Ashigaru, just crushing him in one blow with a Tetsubo, easily crumpling his armor and into his chest, sending him into the wall with like a sickening splat and a crunch. Immediately, the call will go out for the others from the samurai for the others to go charge. He'll let out a yell. Survivors, intruders that dare to come across the bridge. You will not make it. The samurai will yell out to you. Before sprinting up, katana in hand, coming out of the sheath and in a blur. And in a fluid motion, he'll approach towards you, using a water stance to sprint, his feet moving with his like unearthly grace and speed, which will allow him to close against you in the first round. He'll use the extra move that he gets from that to close the distance onto you. For the katana will come up to strike out. And that's alrighty. And that will be 3 successes and an opportunity. So he will hit you. He's a lot faster than you thought, and clearly trained. Your suspicions that he would be a samurai are correct, and the katana at his side proves that, as does his skill. Before you can even like orient yourself from smashing this Ashigaru, he's already up on you, seemingly within seconds. And you'll feel the katana come up against, and I'll try to like slip it out to cut into you. So what armor do you have?
I wear traveling clothes and lacquered armor. I do not know if they stack.
They do not stack. You pick.
Okay, so
you
the
pick
greater of the
one
two,
armor to count. Yeah.
greater of the two is lacquered armor with a physical resistance of 4.
Alrighty, so that means the damage that he will do to your endurance will be reduced by 4, as this is
Gotcha.
physical damage. He has a katana. Deals 5 damage at base, but because he got an extra success, we'll go up to 6. So he'll deal 6 damage. So minus the 4 from your armor, that will leave you at 2 damage towards your endurance track.
And I count up, right, on that?
Yes. Yeah, your
Okay,
endurance, once it reaches your endurance max, is when it'll
Gotcha.
cap out. Because it can go above your max, so you want to count up and not down.
Awesome. Cool. So I've put on
So
2
he'll
fatigue.
bring in. You'll barely manage to like bring up the Tetsubo to like block his strike, but the force of it will like send you back. You'll feel the strain go up into your elbows and your shoulders as you have to block the blow, barely managing it from like piercing up through your armor and damaging you. So it'll add to your fatigue. And like look up at you from your higher, bigger height than him, with just like this ferocity, is determined to stop you. And then also he got an opportunity. So he- uh, and despite like the ferocity that he like looks at you with his eyes, like his body will stay perfectly calm. His water stance lending aid to the relaxation that he carries himself with, and he'll remove strife, making sure that his composure stays nice and low. And then it will be your turn, Kubo. The samurai has just struck out at you. You've barely managed to stop the lethal blow, though it still wears on you.
And he is small compared to I, and I will use my weight as my advantage as I just lunge forward with my armored belly, trying to knock him off center, and then come down overhead with the Tetsubo, trying to overwhelm him with just this sheer mass that is me, as I go in for a fire stance Tetsubo smash. So that'll be I always have to pick these dice. So that's 3 of those, and 1 of those, and I pick 3. Do I? So I was just curious because of my distinction of my large stature. I get to reroll up the 2 dice if it would help me on a check. Would my large stature help me in this battle, or in this, at least in this action?
I'm gonna say, since this is just straight up battle, probably not. Also, the logic being that if you can use it for any attack, then it kind of becomes sort of a ubiquitous thing rather than like a defining
Yeah,
feature.
yeah. I didn't
Um,
quite know how. I guess how cool people could be with their weapon or with their fighting abilities on the system. So I'm cool if you just nix that. All right, so I get 3 opportunity and 2 strife, but I'm using fire stance, which means that I can use those as successes. So that'll be 2 success from those strifes and those 3 opportunities. But I'll mark down my two strife from that.
So, actually, just real quick with the fire stance, it's if you succeed, you get bonus successes for strife.
Oh,
Uh,
gotcha.
So, because
Okay.
you did not actually succeed the roll without that strife, it will not count towards that.
Okay. No, that makes okay. That's a good clarification. So I get 3 opportunities. So I fail.
So,
If that makes
with
sense.
opportunity, then for fire,
Mhm.
so there's either um, so there's just general ones that you can use, or fire ones. The fire ones are, you can either give somebody in this scene strife per advantage that you use. You can
Okay.
do the task in a flashy way, which at this point all their attention is on you anyways,
Yeah.
so that might not be useful. And then you can also notice something missing or out of place in the vicinity that's not directly related to this task.
No, I feel like I want to use this to cause a kindling in him as I bash him with just my sheer weight, maybe like even just a belly smash or whatever. I'm like, ha, puny man! And I come down, kind of like trying to ire him a bit. As I come down with that Tetsubo, he's able to dodge it out of the way, but unfortunately, I kind of broke a nerve with him, calling him puny or essentially something to that effect. And if possible, I'll burn all 3 of those opportunities to boost his strife by 3.
Yeah, and I think when the Tetsubo hits too, with the sheer force that you're able to swing such a large club, that it crashes down and breaks some of the cobblestone on the bridge, sending like pieces of rubble flying. And like the display of strength will kind of strike fear in him to show just how close he was to death, by narrowly avoiding that blow. And that will certainly uh, put the fear of the scenario into him.
Right.
Alrighty, and then this other foot soldier that he's commanded will heed his master's call, and he too will charge at you. He's got a spear that he'll bring up in both hands, um, and as you smash down with the Tetsubo, he'll try to take advantage of that while you're kind of leaned forward and off balance, to like go for like a sweep at the side to try to like get it up under your armor from the side, while you're leaning. And he will take a swing. Alrighty. That's pretty good. Uh, he manages to hit you with 3 successes and an opportunity. He'll stand strong, resolute under his uh, master's orders, despite your fearsome stature. Uh, and he'll use Earth Stance. He'll strike out with his spear. While you're off balance, he'll manage to kind of get it up under your arm, or at least attempt to drive it in up into that weak spot in the armor. So once again, your defense will factor in your lacquered armor, defending you from the worst of it. But he will deal 6 damage, so then minus the 4 from your armor will lead 2 more to your endurance track. He does not manage to get it up and actually wound you, but again, the strain of the sweeping blow, while you're already kind of off balance from the missed strike, will lend itself further to the bruising and the aching from the previous war. You'll begin to feel it more and more, the pain building back up again. Misashi, you've seen Hubo jump out, seemingly out of nowhere, flying into battle, sending one of them sprawling into the wall, smashed. He's already got the other 2 on him, striking out, but they have not seen the other 3 of you yet. Hubo has caused such a show and distraction of things that they have not yet noticed that more people lurk behind the wall. And you can see that they've kind of got him surrounded, almost pincered from 2 angles, coming down at him with katana and spear. What will you do?
Okay, so we were like kind of behind these piles of rubble, basically waiting for this all to spring off. And when Misashi sees Hubo run into the fray, Misashi stands up and he draws his katana in his left hand and he draws his wakizashi in his right hand. It's quite a mixed matched pair. He's got a katana with blue wrappings on the hilt and like an etching of a crane flying on the blade next to where the pommel is, and then his wakizashi is traditional dragon green wraps, and he just takes off into the fray. He's going to run towards the samurai. He's in fire stance, by the way, and I would like to make a strike at him if I'm able to reach him.
You are, absolutely. They've kind of approached up to where Hubo was at the edge of the bridge, so you'll be able to approach there with just your regular movement.
All right, let's roll that. 4 successes and 3 strife. And since I'm in fire stance, that's 7 successes.
Ooh, yep, that's correct.
All right.
All right, so the first 2 will count as the hitting, so you'll have 5 bonus successes. So I believe a katana has 4 damage,
Yes.
so that'll be 9 damage overall that you'll deal, and you'll also gain that 3 strife.
Okay. Yeah, I took the strife off. So basically, what he does is he just kind of pulls his blades, and with like this kind of whirling dervish whirlwind, he just comes around and he jams the katana into the weak spot of the samurai's armor, just trying to hit a vital of some sort. And he withdraws it. You will regret coming here.
Yeah, he'll barely manage to dodge the killing blow of it, but the strain of it will tire him, very much so. He was not expecting another person to attack at all, especially not with such ferocity, and it will deal a lot. It'll be a lot for him to avoid the death blow. But he'll just lock eyes with you and kind of like grunt between his teeth. You will die for coming here, he'll say, back to you. Alrighty, and then Funaki, the rest of your team. Oh no, sorry, Toritomi. My mistake. Masashi has run out into the fray, joining Hubo to take on these two attackers.
While they're distracting the attackers, I will stride out calmly and collected. I want to use a technique called the fires from within. And as I stride out, my voice grows low and guttural, and my skin glistens as steam starts to rise from it, as the heat of my wrath is feeding into this. This says, as an attack action, make a target number 3 theology check, fire ring, targeting a number of characters up to my fire ring, which is 3. Now, what is the difference between range 1 through 2 and 3? Is that like
So
immediate
0
far?
is like, yeah. So that'll easily be able to hit both of the enemies here. So range 0 is like immediate, like you're literally like you could hug them. They're that close. Range 1 is within like attacking distance with a standard weapon. So like a katana has a range of 1.
Okay.
Range 2 is like longer. So like a large spear would be like range 2, where you have a little bit more reach. And then range 3, you're getting into like there's some distance between you. So like more of like a bow shot than anything. So
Okay.
that'll cover. It's not like an exact like number of feet. It's just kind of like range band areas.
Okay. Would
But
I
they're
be-
like within like range 2 of you, so you'd be able to do so.
Now, what about the other guys? Because this is the range on this attack is 1 through 3. Would I be able to reach anybody else, like either on or across the bridge, or is that out of the bounds of range 3?
Yeah. So the bridge is pretty huge. It's quite a bridge, and you don't see any reinforcements coming up yet. So at this stage, it's just the two enemies right here that are like in initiative.
Okay, good deal. I just wanted so I can picture it in my head what these numbers represent, right?
Yeah, for sure. So for a target number 3, that means you'll need 3 successes to like for it to work.
Okay.
And then anything above that is a bonus.
And I use theology, so my skill die, and 3 black die for my fire ring. And I want to use that opportunity dice that I had earlier and add it to it if I can.
Perfect.
Okay. I have 1 opportunity, 2 successes, 1 exploding success, and 3 strife.
Alrighty. So that will put you at 3 successes, so it'll succeed. If you want to roll the exploding dice, you can get another bonus, but you do have to keep it, so that may also add more strife. So it's up to you if you want to kind of go for the bonus or not.
Got a success on it.
Perfect. So 4 successes, 3 strife, and an opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, so that will succeed.
All right.
So they will both
Strike
take
my
3 supernatural. So you got 1 bonus success. So it'll be 4 supernatural damage. So what does this invocation look like? 'Cause that's quite a strange sight compared to the normal samurai fare.
Oh, for sure. I pulled a vial from my robe and poured it onto my bleeding arm, and the blood itself seemed to transfuse into a steaming flame that took form. And as I struck out with my hand, the flame shot and struck its way through both targets, almost like a streaming dragon. Not quite a dragon, but you get the image.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, as this fire like bursts through them, like put their hands up to as if to block it, but it's not possible to block such a thing with flesh and steel, and the fire will like penetrate through their armor, um, rendering it defenseless against your magic. And the samurai will like yell out to the Ashigaru, will like point out with his free hand from his katana, "Kill that one now!" He'll like scream out to his Ashigaru. The Ashigaru is like breathing heavily, like he's gonna like grab at his armor as if it could like heal the burned flesh underneath it, like unable to get to it through the metal plating, like the agony of it. It's clear that he's been fairly injured by the burn that this will cause.
Excellent. Now, I've gathered quite a bit of strife in the past couple of rolls. Let's see. What was that?
Right, have you reached your max yet? That's really the only important part.
I have 7 strife. What do I know of how do I know what my max is?
It should say right next to in composure. It's your earth ring plus your water ring, and then take that total and double it, and that'll be your max strife.
Oh, okay. So yes, I am 1 above it.
Alrighty. But at this stage, let me see what the actual specific penalty is. Okay, so until you unmask, so you're at this point the stress of battle, the pain of failure, everything, it's too much, and your emotions start getting the best of you. The mask that all samurai wear around their persona begins to crack a little bit, and your true colors will begin to show. Until you unmask, you cannot keep dice that have strife anymore.
Okay.
You are just not allowed to keep them at all. And then once you do unmask, your strife will go down to 0. And at the end of each scene, it'll go down to half of your max. So basically, for the rest of this fight, unless you use your turn to unmask, you will not be able to use strife dice anymore. It'll just count as if you never rolled them.
So unmasking, that mechanically, how does that work out? What am I doing there?
So unmasking is basically the specifics of it kind of relate to however you are as a character. But it almost is always something that's like exceptionally socially damaging. So blatantly insulting, acting without honor, speaking out of turn, just some sort of basically like that sort of like stoic samurai calmness is gonna break in some way, however that would be for your character, and you'll basically dishonor yourself in some way.
To who exactly? My my party here or the people that I'm going to try to kill? I'm just trying to understand how this works. I'm sorry.
So it's can really be either. So perhaps like an example could be that you lash out at Hubo for not killing this samurai earlier, for missing the strike, and you berate him, like viciously mock him for his failure. And that would be pretty unacceptable. It could also be like cowering from the fight, like you just can't deal with it anymore, and you like will break and kind of go into cowardice, like anger, cowardice, insult, just some sort of demeanor that would break from your sort of like honorable samurai code.
Okay, so Bushido kind of has worked to help me keep a vicious temper in check. So if I'm understanding correctly, if I unmasked, I would let that rage just go, right? And I'm supposing I wouldn't fight with any kind of honor. I would fight to win at any cost, blind to any advantage or disadvantage I might be opening myself up to. Would that work as an unmasking?
Yeah, so it would be typical. For even samurai on the other side are still like typically worthy of respect. So if you were to like just go out of your way to like savagely attack this person, like whatever way that you can, like to kill them and to like maim their corpse or whatever, like even something like that would be something that would be highly dishonorable.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I understand what's going on. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. So the specifics of that you can decide. It'll either be after, like on your next turn, or after the battle, or so on. That'll
For sure. I'm just
happen,
trying to
but
get
yeah.
a grasp on it, man.
Yeah, it's weird because it's very vague and open. There's kind of a lot of like personal character to like how and when and all that sort of stuff. So there's totally a lot of room for clarification.
It's actually reminding me a lot of like the narrative dice with Genesis and whatnot. So yeah, I'm
Yep, very similar.
kind of getting it more open ended than just black and white. So okay.
Alrighty, perfect. So Funaki, at this point you've seen all the others leap out from this wall onto the bridge. Hobu and Masashi are engaged in melee, swinging with Tetsubo and Katana. Toritomi has just unleashed their Shugenja magic to strike out with spiritual fire that like burns at these two men. And you can see, I imagine at this stage, if I can dare to speak for Toritomi, that like mask of calmness beginning to break, the fury that lies within each warrior kind of starting to bubble to the surface. Um, but all the enemies still stand. What do you do?
They all still stand? I thought
The
a
the
couple
initial
were
one
dead.
that Hubo killed at the very beginning is
Okay.
dead, but the other two that have like run up to engage, they're both still alive.
Okay. So I have a question before I get started here. Vigilance.
Okay.
What is vigilance used for?
So vigilance is used for initiative rolls when you're surprised and in response to some skills. So some skills will test against vigilance. Um,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, seems like a very
so
passive thing.
because you guys got the jump on them with the stealth, that's why you used focus for your initiative. But if they surprise you, then you would have used vigilance.
Okay. I'm just looking at my abilities and what I can do. Then I am going to. This is where I can change a stance, right? Like if I did my initiative in Earth, I can now change to a different stance.
Yes, you can change stance one time per turn. Yeah, as part
Oh,
of your action. So
okay.
whichever approach you use for your action you'll go into that stance.
Okay, I'm going to go into fire stance, and I want to do the body as an anvil, which is takes like a movement and a support action.
Okay.
So it's a TN3, and I do a meditation fire. So meditation and fire. And we hope we get good stuff. And then I can only keep as many as my ring dice or ring. Is that right? Like,
Correct. The number of dice
Okay.
equal to your ring. But that does not count exploding dice. So dice that come from an exploding dice are kind of outside of that.
okay, so unfortunately, I only got 2 successes and I needed 3, right? To TN 3 means 3.
Yes.
And I get a bonus, like I get to add a bonus success equal to my school rank, but that only would add on if I succeeded in the first place. Is that right?
Does the school just say that you can just add it to any
It says,
roll?
no, it says when making a check to activate the keyhole linked to my tattoo. So that's the body as an anvil is linked to my tattoo. So my vine tattoos are glowing at this point.
Okay.
If I'm successful, add an additional bonus success to
Okay.
equal to school rank.
Yep.
Yeah,
So that only counts if the initial successes would succeed on their own. Yeah.
Yeah, so I needed an exploding success and I did not get it, so that does not work.
All right. Any opportunity or strife? Because that'll all still happen.
No, because I can only keep 2 dice. Well, I guess I could keep an opportunity dice then and a success dice, right?
Yeah, if you know you're not going to succeed anyways, then you might as well keep an opportunity.
Sure, I'll keep an opportunity. What can I? Okay, so that's way down here, and it was fire
Right, so
stance,
with
right?
fire, so you can perform this task in a flashy way, drawing attention to yourself. You can inflame another character in the scene and give them some strife. Um, those are the fire options.
What about the?
And you can also use opportunity generally on any ring to remove a strife per opportunity used. So if you have a lot of strife, you can cancel some out as well.
Okay, so could I do the comp? I guess I'm not really in the martial skill. Like I can't choose another character to make their check one tougher. I don't want to do that anyway. Never mind. I'm going to reduce the strife. That sounds good.
Okay, yeah. So
I'm trying to compose myself. My hands are going down into the earth, and I try to basically power up and create some defense on my body, which does not work as I am rushed for time, I would say. So that is my turn because that takes everything to do that.
alrighty, yeah. But I think even though it doesn't succeed, there's some the meditation and trying to cast that will help to calm you. So you'll lower that one strife.
Exactly.
And that will bring us back around up to the top. So Yosei, you do not yet know the name of, what's his name? Is going to continue to strike at you, Kubo, seeing you as the one who's actually no, he's going to turn to you, Misashi, since you struck such a deadly blow. He'll take you as the more fearsome combatant, and he'll turn his attention to you to try to return the favor. He'll ready himself, steadying himself with this calm strength as he'll move into Earth, his Earth ring, and then try to use that steadfastness to break through your defense with the inevitability of Earth that it provides. It's going to try to cut you up. Ooh, all right, it's gonna hurt. Um, so he got 5 successes, an opportunity, and 3 strife.
Okay. Well, let's see. I would like to use my Wave the Dragon ability. Once per round during a skirmish, when you're targeted by an attack check, you may use one of your weapons readied in one hand, so it'd be the wakizashi, since I attacked with the katana, to either ward or trap.
Okay.
If you ward, the attacker must reroll dice containing success or crit success. up to your school rank. I don't think that's going to save me here. So I'm going to go for the trap option. If you trap, reduce the TN of your next attack check against the attacker in this scene by your school rank. So I'm going to go ahead and do that instead of ward because I don't think it makes a difference here. So I would just lower the TN of my attack against him next turn by 1.
Okay. Yeah. So warding, it wouldn't be able to stop the damage, but it might change the success to a non-success, which at least lower a damage. But 1 damage point against you might not be worth getting an extra, the minus TN against him.
Yeah, because
so it'll be up
I'm
to you.
okay. We're gonna go ahead and let's go with the
All right.
trap.
Yeah. So the katana will break through. You'll be able to bring up the wakizashi to grab it, holding it in place, making him vulnerable to you upon your next attack. But it's not enough to stop the blow from coming through.
And a
So he
physical
got
3
3
with
extra.
Ashigaru.
Alrighty, so he got 3 extra successes because the TN is 2. So that will be 4 damage plus 3 is 7. So he will deal, so minus the 3 from the Ashigaru will still be 4
4.
damage to your endurance. You managed to bring up the wakizashi to like block the katana from killing you, but he struck with such force with the earth that like inevitability, sturdiness of the earth, and it will put a severe amount of strain on you to block that blow. Though it will not kill you, so that's the important part. And then he will use his opportunity. So that blow will encourage his Ashigaru, who's next to him. And it will reduce 2 strife from him, seeing his samurai master strike out with such severity, nearly killing you, though you managed to avoid it. And he will have some reduced strife as a result of that. Alrighty, and then Hubo, you've just seen the samurai strike out at Misashi instead of you, taking him to be the more dangerous foe due to the severe blow that he just blocked.
Does the trap option that that the Masashi did, is that the only on him, only on his character, or does
Just for
anyone
me.
get the effect?
I
Just for
believe
you?
it's just for him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just for me.
All right. Here's a question of what would my character do versus what's a good thing to do as a player. I feel like the competitive nature of my character would want to club this samurai over the head before you do, Masashi. But I feel like also he's really pissed at the little spearman guy for poking him too hard. So he's gonna fire stance and just show off that he is the biggest, baddest thing around, and lumber at the poor spearman. I rolled 4 success and 3 strife because of an exploding dice that happened. And I am fire stance, so I'm pretty sure
Yep,
4 would beat him anyways. So that's 7 effective successes on him, but I'll take up 3 strife. So that's
So
oof,
2 of
I'm
those
close.
will go to meeting the TN. So
Mhm.
the other 5 will count as bonuses. Now, with where he is at from the fire damage that he's taken from Toritomi, it is not possible for him not to die from whatever damage that you do,
Okay.
even despite his armor. So how will you kill this poor foot soldier?
I think that he like goes for another jab, and I just grab the spear. I shatter it with just a kind of just like a fell blow, and use that to pull him close, as he and just like wham him with the other end of the Tetsubo, just boom, almost like an underhand strike, and it collides with him, and he kind of just oofs over the end of the club, and just collapses in a broken heap. Perhaps a bit bloodied, but definitely not alive as my ferocity takes the better of me. As he's
And with
obliterated.
that, yeah, this poor foot soldier has met his end, smashed under the Tetsubo.
I think that's
All right.
all I can do.
Alrighty, with that, Masashi, The samurai stands before you, his katana pulled aside by your wakizashi, exposing an opening for you to strike at. The foot soldier next to him has been just smashed into the ground by Hubo, and the samurai is now the only remaining enemy.
Okay, so I'm gonna roll for a hit. I'm in fire stance, so I'm gonna go ahead and roll it. Let's see, holy Jesus! So the one with the little 3 dots spinning, that's a critical success, right? Or an exploding.
Yeah, that's an exploding
success.
die, so you can choose to re-roll it and keep the extra roll in addition to the success. Yeah.
Yikes! I'm gonna go ahead and re-roll those. I have 2 of them.
That's
5
very close to what happened to me.
successes,
Yeah.
1 opportunity, and 4 strive. But you can only
Wait,
keep
how many
3 of those.
successes?
Hold on, you can only keep 3 of those dice. Let me take these off.
So the exploding dice are extra. They don't count towards your limit, by the way.
Okay. Well, I had 1 extra that I'm gonna get rid of because I had 4 total for 3. So I'm gonna get rid of 1 of the successes. It's 4 successes, 1 opportunity, and 4 strive. And I'm in fire stance.
Because you're in fire,
that's 8. Yeah, that's 8
that'll
on
be
top of
8
that.
successes.
Okay, you tell me. Is that enough to kill him?
Because that'd be
Just for the-
seven.
just-
Seven
just
to
for the
pass his
roleplay.
number. Oof.
So it was 6. So it's 10 damage to him. So he does not have enough endurance, but because he's not just a foot soldier, so it's a little bit more complicated than that. So that will actually turn this into a critical hit against him. So he is not able to absorb that with endurance.
Okay.
So that may still kill him, depending on how much that result ends up being.
What do you have to do to determine that?
Second. This is one of the areas that's a little bit more weird.
Hey, these guys aren't mooks. These are the actual NPCs.
Alrighty, so the deadliness of a katana is 5.
Yes.
Alrighty, so I need to make a roll real quick. Basically, although I'm not sure, this is one of the the points where the book isn't super clear as far as whether or not like extra damage will count as like extra successes for the. Alrighty. So I need to make a roll real quick. Basically, he'll make a fitness check to determine how severe that critical hit will affect him. And because they can't remember and it seems right, I think like successes that go past their endurance count as extra on the crit. I'm not sure if that's right, but I'm gonna count it as being right for now.
Okay.
I think that's cooler. So that would be 3 extra because he had a little bit of endurance left. Mhm. Nobody can't keep strike. Interesting. That's good for you. All right, so he will reduce the severity by 1, but that was still a lot. So you had the deadliness is 5, so plus the extra 3 would be 8. That'll minus 2. So this will be a debilitating gash. The hit is agonizing, cutting a deep furrow in the flesh or splitting muscle and fracturing bone. Um, the character suffers the severely wounded condition for the ring, and if the attack had razor edged, which it did because it's a katana, he will also suffer the bleeding condition, which is very nasty.
Perfect.
Uh,
I didn't want to kill him.
Yeah, so at this stage, so the katana, him being unable to defend with the katana pulled away by your trap, the katana that you swing will graze past gaps in his armor and cut deep into his flesh, cutting a point in his torso just below his armpit. And he'll suffer a very nasty gash that will begin to bleed profusely. Um,
So he's
at this
basically
stage, he'll
got him by
collapse down to the ground. If nothing is done to heal him, he will bleed to death. Um, oh Jesus, yeah. So with how much so he's like standing, he's woozy to the point of like nearly collapsing. Blood spurting from the wound, just covering his entire right side with blood falling down his armor and onto the bridge. If he basically takes any action, he'll die from bleeding, and he'll die next round due to the severity of the cut.
Can I roleplay out how I imagine that happened?
Alrighty, so before we get to that point, we do have 2 more people. So it'll be up to Toritomi and then Funaki. This man has basically been incapacitated to the point where he is about to die. He will bleed out within seconds. Like blood has just already covered him from this wound. And he's like nearly going to fall unconscious from blood loss and pain. But whether or not he will stay alive or not until then will determine. So Toritomi, you are technically up in initiative. If you want to continue combat and kill him or not, it'll be up to you.
Would I would want to
Unmask.
yeah unmask. I'd like to unmask and take this samurai's head. How I don't even want to say a word. I would, as he's falling, bleeding from this large gash, I want to rush up and with my katana, just a clean stroke as I pass by, and his head would fall to the ground.
Yeah, at this stage, he's unable to defend himself. I won't even make you roll for it. It'll just happen. It's like he's dropped his katana in one hand. He's using the other hand to like try to stem the flow of blood uselessly. It's still like covering out from it, even though his hand is trying to push it back. He cannot stop it. And he'll just like look up in horror, surprise, expecting to be taken hostage and treated as any decent samurai would be. Yet there you are, katana in hand, and within seconds, his head is cut from his body. There'll be a thud as it hits the bridge, and then a second stronger thud as his body falls behind it, collapsing, as his torso now has nothing to keep it standing. Blood will begin to like pool out from the bridge, to the point where it's like falling off the sides into the river below, tainting it, tainting the water with bits of red that will begin to like tendril and strand through it.
I would spit on the head.
Masashi
Yeah.
flicks the blood off his katana.
Yeah, the blatant dishonor will not go unnoticed. So the other three of you, you'll see Toritomi striking out with far too much fury, his passion getting the better of him, the mask breaking. So at this stage, Toritomi, your strife will go all the way down to 0. But if your lord lives to hear this tale, you'll lose honor, which as a one shot, this won't really matter mechanically, but it's still cool. And as far as how the other three react or don't react to that will be up to them. But the beheading so blatantly and then the spitting on the corpse afterwards is a blatant dishonor to him. And the four
As
of
he
you will
should
stand
be.
there. The din of battle ceases, and you guys will be left alone at the mouth of the bridge.
Hubo like wrenches free Tetsubo from like the sickening squelch of a concave like rib cage as he kind of like pushes on the corpse, pops it out, and he kind of just looks over, and he looks down to see the headless corpse of the samurai, and like he looks back up to you, Toritomi, and just like he's kind of like in silence, and like almost like bewildered awe, but not quite of respect, just like confusion. As he just, even though it's just like he just killed a person, then you also just killed a person. It seems weird to Hubo at this, but he says nothing at it besides giving you a kind of a strange look.
I would look down as I reinsert my katana back into his scabbard. I would pick up the head by the hair and look to the other three and say, let's deliver the message as I start to walk across the bridge.
You dishonor him. This will not help our plea in getting our lord.
I would stop and half turn my head and answer, he dishonored his own family by bringing his own army here and destroying our home. We don't know if our master is alive.
Exactly. We don't know. And this could anger them in such a way that they kill him. What greater dishonor is that when we could have potentially saved him?
I will strike him down before he strikes to kill our lord.
I think at this
And
point,
he like Hubo almost like comes to defend you here, Toritomi. As also, I have taken quite a bit of strife from this engagement, so I feel like my colors are starting to show a bit too.
and Masashi also has taken a good deal of strife. His impatience is getting the better of him, and he marches past, his feet stomping through the blood. No time for this. He just walks past and continues over the bridge.
I would follow suit right behind Masashi.
And
still in my hand.
likewise, Hubo would follow and in great strides catch up to the two diminutive people, leaving, I guess, the tattooed monk behind, if but for a moment.
And she would pause for a moment and watch these three hotheads go across the bridge and then calmly follow after them.
Alrighty, and with that, the scene will close. And with that, at the end of a scene, basically, whatever your composure's maximum is, the half of that, you'll remove strife until you're at the half of the max.
Cool.
For those of you who are above. So if your max strife is 12, no matter what you're at, 7 to 12, you'll go down to 6, and so on.
Awesome.
So
But
if
if you're
you're
below-
above your halfway point, then you'll go down to exactly the halfway point. But anything below that will stay.
Is the same true for endurance or no?
No, it is not.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, endurance will stand until it's treated, or until you take a significant time to rest.
Gotcha.
And with that, I think we'll go ahead and take our quick break here as well. This is a good breaking point here. So we'll go ahead and take a quick 5. So go ahead and use the bathroom, grab a drink, whatever you guys need to do, and then we'll hop back right into it with the remainder of the session.
All right. So, have we noticed who these attackers are?
No, that's one of the sort of stranger points that were noticed, is that they don't wear any obvious emblem. Like they don't have their clan symbol on any of their armor. you're not actually certain what's happened and why.
Scorpion.
Jeez.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to playing Legends of Five Rings for a little while now.
Hmm.
At least lore wise, there's just so much here.
Yeah, it's such a rich setting.
Yeah, it's nice and meaty. You can just go 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
And not fall away from what the game is trying to do.
Yeah, and the game does such a good job with its mechanics of like buying you into the setting. Like with the way that like the strife and the unmasking and the rings, like it kind of it forces you to play by its rules without ever like feeling like restrictive or like overbearing. It's really nice.
Yeah, I'm digging it so far. It's a little complex as far as like how things work on the crunchy side of things, but like you said a little bit ago, I think with some time, like a few sessions, it would get very set in it and self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I've found it having played a good couple sessions of all of them now. I think that this is probably the least crazy of the Fantasy Flight things. It's like the Star Wars and even Genesis are like surprisingly like very crunchy. Like there's a lot to those systems, and this kind of touches up along a lot of those similar places, but it's just not quite as crazy, at least to me.
Yeah,
Like once you kind of get the hang of it.
For sure. Yeah, I'm playing Genesis with Karen here and a few others, and I'm digging the hell out of that. The way the dice work mechanically to help you. It's not just you win, you fail. It's okay, you win, but there's all kinds of things that could go along with that, or you fail, but and I don't know. I just really dig the way it leaves things open that way for interpretation. You can do.
Mm-hmm.
1,000
That's the
different
one
things.
thing that I'm sad that they took out in this version is that there's none of the advantages and the disadvantage and the advantage, the threats and advantages, I mean, aren't in this one. Like you said, that degree of like you succeed but at a cool cost, or you fail but you still do something. They kind of have that with the advantages in this one, or opportunity and strife in this kind of plays those sorts of roles of giving you those little extra benefits in strife. But it's not quite as like doesn't kind of grab as strong as it does in Genesis.
I haven't played any of the Star Wars stuff. I've just never ran into the
It's
opportunity.
very, very similar to Genesis, like almost identical.
Cool.
Like you basically just take the symbols on the Genesis dice and make them Star Wars symbols, and you're like 80% of the way there already.
Yeah, I was noticing a lot of similarities, but I mean, that's DNA for you, you know.
Yeah.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, I mean, Fantasy Flight's basically like struck gold with their narrative dice system. It's just so strong. So why get rid of it?
One of the things that really sold me on this was instead of like regular stats, like agility, cunning, whatever, you just have earth, air, fire, water, void. Like that just was so cool and so evocative that made me actually think of how I could apply that kind of thought to other RPG mini systems that I might come up with in the future. Is like, you know, don't have the standard strength through agility or whatever. Have these weirder concepts that people can still identify and understand.
Yeah. I like that they've kind of curbed too, because like Fate Accelerated has a very similar thing with the approaches, but Fate Accelerated is like very, very easy to like gamify, where you can just basically pick whatever
Always,
approach
yeah.
you're best at and just always use that. But at least in this, you can kind of do that if you want to. But with the way that the skills work, you still have to kind of invest in what you want to be good at. And you can kind of game the approaches a little bit, or you can just kind of go with whatever feels right and take the penalty for like optimization. But if you have skills, then it doesn't matter if you pick your best ring or your worst ring, because you'll be better at the skill anyways, and so on.
Yeah.
So it kind of
And
curbs the
I like
gamifying of advantages,
I like
approaches.
how the approaches give you like almost like a little narrative kickstart, I guess, or like what are you actually doing, right? Like
Mhm.
what the different rings mean. And if you're like I'm attacking with my melee martial arts, okay, how does that look like? You know, based on the different rings.
Yeah.
And I really like that how it.
Yeah, are you
These little
swinging
keywords are
wildly and
so.
savagely, or are you
Yeah.
calm and precise, or
Are you moving a lot, right? Are you did you distract them, or did you give up some part of yourself to
It's like Samurai Champloo.
strike true?
It's which samurai are you?
Yeah.
The different. The end result is still blood and death, but how do you go about that? Yeah.
Yeah, like the rings can tell you so much about how the character is fighting. Like water is going to be very fluid and like precise, whereas Earth's going to be very like stoic and steadfast. Where fire is going to be like savage and berserk.
Yeah.
We
And
haven't
even,
noticed that.
and the ones where like you have really low rings, they like tell you like, okay, I have a really low air ring, so in no way can I be deceptive or subtle at all. Like I am blunt to the
Yep.
moon.
Yeah,
Yeah, just I have no air ring. I'm like, yeah, no.
Neither do
I am here. I take me as I am.
I think it's funny, man, that how similar that our characters are, yet so different.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so I think we're all here. If
Mhm.
so, I think we'll go ahead and get right back into it and finish it out. So as Funaki runs to catch up with the others, who have temporarily left her behind, um, eventually the four of you reunite, leaving a trail, the blood in your footprints that go across the bridge, where the blood had pooled out from the samurai that you killed so brutally. And finally, you make it to the other side of the bridge. It's massive, designed that way on purpose. But it's eerie walking across this bridge. You've seen it a million times. Every day you wake up and see it. Every time it was always so crowded. Merchants coming in and out, military units going out to fields to practice and then back in, civilians making their way on their travels. As you guys walk the bridge this time, it's empty. Other than the two Ashigaru and the samurai dead at the mouth of it, there's not a soul that walks the bridge today, other than the four of you. And that stark reminder of what's happened, it can't help but weigh on you. Even the most stoic and ruthless of samurai would feel the emptiness. But eventually, you do make it to the other end of the bridge, to the ground level of Shiro Mirumoto, in the castle that you've long called home. Though now, uh, doesn't feel like home, despite how long you've been here. The approach inside, you feel more like an infiltrator than you do like a defender. The lack of people is what stands out the most. Even amongst the enemy, you'd expect a victorious army to still have hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers left to defend. And while there are people here and there, clusters of Ashigaru, they're in the dozens, maybe, across the entire ground level that you can see as you move from place to place. And it's strange how empty it is. Like the loss of life on all sides is so apparent to you. So at this stage, where you guys go and the how is going to be largely up to you. The castle is basically on kind of like tiered levels. Um, And of course, the castle itself and the lord's chambers in the castle are at the very, very top. So obviously, you can continue to just walk through the way, the hallways, passageways, and stairs that you need to take to just walk. Or if you'd like to attempt to be a little bit more subtle, although subtle does not seem to be the word for your guys' group, you can also try to like scale walls and sneak in another way. But how exactly you go about, whether it's a full scale invasion or a stealthy infiltration, how to approach will be up to you guys.
Well-
Hugo's vote would be a direct approach.
I know that my companions are not terribly what's the word after that battle, subtle. Funaki would like to take the time, do her little meditation on Earth Needs No Eyes technique. Can I do those? It's a support action. Can I do that outside of combat?
Let me see. What does it do?
It allows me to basically see using the ground. The vibrations in the ground allows me to see in all directions. Yeah, vibrations through the earth to see. Basically, for my case, it would be up to three range bands, and it increases my vigilance.
Okay, yeah, I like that. What does that look like? This ability lets you feel life in all directions. What do the others see, and what do you see as this happens?
So I still need to make a roll, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do that because depending on how well I do, something
TN1
fancy can
meditation.
happen. 2 and 3. Okay. So it's a TN1. 3 bonus successes. I can't get 3 bonus successes. Okay, so I'm going to keep 2 successes and an opportunity. That's what I want to keep. So basically what happens is she starts going through this kind of like a motions with her hands, and her feet are very solidly planted on the ground, and she closes her eyes as she's doing this kind of like almost a dance, but it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but as her hands move and she centers herself, and then as she opens her eyes, she can actually, it's like seeing sound. When there's a vibration, somebody walking across the ground, she will see like little blips of light in her vision, showing her that that's there. And for the rest, they kind of see like an unfocused Funaki, like her eyes, she's looking at them, but she's looking through them, really. Yeah, so I've succeeded. I didn't get the burst effect. I just got the regular enhancement. So I can see up to
And
3 range.
What's your Earth ring?
A 3.
Okay, so you got a bonus success from that. So you got 2. So it'll actually be 4 range bands. The ability says that bonus successes count as extra range.
Oh, does it? Oh, okay.
Yep, I was just looking at it. And as far as the opportunity, real quick, So for Earth, you have two choices that would both of them would make a lot of sense here. So one of them would be to reassure another character. Basically, somebody who's not you will remove 2 strife, which you all have a good chunk of that. Or you could act carefully to minimize consequences of failure or other dangers that could arise from the task. So basically, prevent the chance that something causes problems for you because of the ability and the attention that it might draw.
I think she will calm Hubo down a little bit as she's doing this dance.
That was 2 points, right?
And how do you go about that? How do you provide some relief to the stress that Hubo has been under?
I think as she's doing this dance, she's saying to Hubo at the same time that through calm we will find our Lord. We know this place. We know its ins and outs. If anyone can get in there, we know you can, Hubo. This will be good.
And I think that Hubo knows Funaki well enough from the Mirumoto castle to know that her zen and her dances and her meditations are often very true, I guess, and reassuring when she goes about this mysticism. And even just witnessing her going through her meditations is enough to think that yes, that she has a vigilant eye through the ground itself and spiritually even, to know that we will not get pierced in the dark by some unlit arrow from afar. And that
Perfect.
reassures
You can
him.
go ahead and take 2 strife off of your track.
Awesome. Hubo would like to imagine that he were some terrifying warlord and he has captured some theoretical lord, and he's going to try and theorize using tactics where might someone hold a hostage in the castle. More so even placing himself in that thing to try and like invoke that fire ring and his own like competitive nature, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I had no idea if that's actually how it works, but I'm spitballing ideas.
I like it.
All right. I just saw the theorize in the fire ring. I'm like, oh yeah, that'll work. So I get to pick 2 of these. Sorry, pick 3 of these. Okay, we're going to go for that, and that. That'll give us 3 success, an opportunity, and 3 strife.
Alrighty.
So I think even like,
stressing yourself right back out.
yeah, I mean, 'cause I'm imagining something terrifying.
Alrighty. So yeah, you set to think your ferocity kind of lends itself that you can kind of tap into that darkness. So you've never used it in such an explicit way as destroying a castle and capturing a lord. You can attempt to put yourself into that mind state. And you know that it's pretty common that when a castle falls like this, that in order to maintain the best defense of it until you can move your army back out to safer places near your own lands, that especially with a daimyo and captive, that it would be honorary to treat that person less like a hostage and almost more like a guest, given their high station. It would still be within the captives of the warlord and his crew. And given the kind of combination of defensibility until they can move the daimyo out of here and take him along to wherever they're going to take him, then it's likely that they would have just kept him up at the top of the castle It would make it much more difficult for him to escape. There'd be nowhere to flee except all the way down to either jump to certain death or to flee down through the entire castle through the rest of the Ashigaru who are stationed here. Plus, it would also provide a comfortable location for him to be held, given that it's typical for to still treat him with some level of dignity and honor.
And after this, like, you know, self-insertion, Hubo would just point up to the top of the castle Mirumoto, and he would just, "Our lord is there," pointing up to it.
Toritomi would look up. Then that's where we go.
And so Hubo goes as well. He's gonna go like he knows the castle fairly well, and he's gonna take the most direct route that takes him to the top, where the daimyo's quarters are, where he's being held theoretically captive.
Misashi follows Hugo.
All right, so I want to go into a short little, narrative thing here. So with Funaki's eyes feeling through the earth, you'll be able to know the position of the Ashigaru before you find them, and you'll be able to dispatch them fairly easily. 4 samurai compared to small clusters of Ashigaru, it's not even a fight. So here's what I'd like to do, just for fun. I'd like each of you to describe a room or part of the castle area that you go through, and what it's known for, and then also how you dispatch the Ashigaru who are in there. And we'll have each of you take a turn and describe a place, and then each of you describe how you kill the Ashigaru who you'll find there. We'll go ahead and start with Hubo, since he's the most straightforward, and then we'll go Masashi, then Funaki, and then Toritomi.
In part of our journey, perhaps not even in chronological order, this happens to be the room with one of the most number of foot soldiers in it. And this is telegraphed essentially to Hubo by the wisdom and mysticism of our tattooed monk. And Hubo takes this onto his own as he would step into the room where perhaps the 7 or so of these Ashigari are, and he would close the door behind him, preventing the other 3 samurai from joining in this fight. As the bamboo curtains kind of close on this room, that alerts the foot soldiers who are probably in some kind of restful state. And just a whole slaughter happens as this one samurai pits himself against 7. If possible, I'd like to invoke my daredevil by like preventing my allies from really helping me here, and just going at them just 7-1 or whatever. As I imagine we see this scene not from the eyes of Hubo, but from beyond like the thin like paper walls of this castle, as just like a man just gets tossed and like tears through the paper and like thuds into like the wooden beams. Another one like just the like I don't know, blood splatter happens across another paper sheet, and then after like there's like a moment of silence there, and then just thump 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 the big lumbering footsteps as Hubo just like opens the door again to let the 3 of you pass into the room.
Awesome. That's rad.
And would I get to invoke my daredevil for that? Passion?
Sure. Even though it's not really in mechanics right now, I'll give it to you because you'll probably need it. So go ahead. I like it. It's cool. Yeah. So the door is opened, and Hubo opens the door to reveal the bloody mess of Ashigaru foot soldiers left within. We'll be able to continue on. Masashi.
Well, I like to imagine that we're kind of making our way kind of up the tower. So in the room where Hubo had his fun, I see there were some stairs. We head up the stairs, and there are probably just like 3 or 4 Ashigaru foot soldiers sitting at a table enjoying some sake. And Misashi just doesn't say anything. He just unsheathes his katana and his wakizashi and holds him at his side and kind of just walks forward calmly into the incoming fray. He doesn't strike first. He waits as they one by one attempt to dispatch, and he just deflects with one hand and finishes with the other. And it's just like poetry in motion. He's just like a fluid, just ting, ting, ting. She's just deflecting all of these incoming attacks, but with relative ease, dispatching for Ashigaru in the room ahead.
One by one, the Ashigaru come, and one by one they fall. They attack ferociously, but they're no match. The training and skill of a samurai far outmatching theirs. And then as this stairwell is cleared out, going further up to the next level of the castle, Funaki, what room do we see next, and how are the Ashigaru in their dispatch?
So as we go up the stairs and we go down this hallway, to the left opens up this one into a larger room where there is kind of like a shrine. This is probably where the oblations are paid to the gods. And in there we have a couple of I can't remember how you say Ashigara are standing. And in this time, Funaki enters the room and gets their attention, and she kind of bows. And as they're looking at her, they don't notice that from the other 2 sides of this room, these big men come in and quickly dispatch not only them, but the other 2 guards that were looking the other way. And as the bloodbath ensues, Funaki just bows and heads back out the way she came.
Awesome. That's great. And then finally, Toratomi, as this large room is cleared out, the distraction of Funaki leading way for the others to smash the Ashigaru away. You move forward. In what room do you find yourself in next, and how do you dispatch of those that are there?
Towards the top of the tower here, we come to a room where maybe a high-ranking magistrate. This was his room. This is where he held court. The guard rooms that we had passed were his personal guard, coldly slain from this enemy army. Perhaps we see this magistrate's body defiled along the floor, being kicked on and laughed at over by this group of peasant soldiers, these Ashigaru. The vitriol they've got towards this has Toratomi thinking there is something of a peasant versus noble mentality going on. And again, the rage comes on. This can't stand. I can pay for my own crimes in the coming days or so, but there's nothing but death to peasants that would dare to raise arms against their betters. And I rush in screaming and shove my sword through the chest of one while the others look in disbelief. As I pull out, the others behind me rush in, and we make very short work of these peasant folk. I think once the bloodshed has stopped and we're all looking down at this bloodied magistrate's body, I'm not the only one that feels disgust at this. Let me look to Funaki and say, do you still find honor in our enemies?
This was not honorable. But just because they have no honor does not mean that we should sink to that dishonor and bring that upon us. We must rise above that and be honorable ourselves.
I think while that exchange is going on, Mitsushi is probably over the corpse, just checking to make sure it's not too badly defiled. It's not honorary to be touching a samurai's corpse or anything. He just wants to make sure it wasn't defiled before perhaps burial after this is all over.
Yeah, I think that there's enough left that you could bury it, but it's pretty badly smashed, like cut and bruised. You can see places where bones have been like broken and cracked as they like kicked and stomped on the body. The starkness of the status that Toritomi brought up can't help but be apparent. That these peasant soldiers would like dare trample the corpse of a samurai. It's like unfathomable.
Now that they've returned to the wheel, they couldn't hope for a better future.
Funaki, as you make your way towards the edge of the room, you catch another vibration. And then you see it's not one, it's not two, it's not five, but 12 vibrations coming at the end of the next hall in the room following that. But something seems strange. Where the other vibrations, you've seen the shapes of soldiers patrolling, watching, laughing, whatever that they're going about doing. But the vibrations you see in this room through the next hallway, they're like crouched down, they're like shuddering, they're whispering to each other. It seems strange. Except with the exception of one person who stands and walks from person to person. Something about it seems different compared to what you've been seeing before. You're not sure what just from the vibration.
I would turn to the others and I would motion for silence. And I would let them know that the next room, there are multiple people. But I'd also say either these people are captives and are crouched because they are being forced to, or we have been noticed and there's an ambush potentially ahead. I'm not sure, but these footsteps are different. They are not patrolling.
Ambush or not, this battle will be good.
But if they are our civilians, just be careful. Look before you hit in this room.
Remember your honor.
If they wear the dragon color, they will be safe.
Reach in. Do you feel the vibrations of our master?
I cannot tell. I cannot. I see one person moving around, right? And the rest are huddled.
Yeah, so there's 11 people who are all kind of sitting, huddled around, and then one person who's kind of walking around between them.
Yeah. So I would describe that. I said, like, I cannot tell who's who. There's one person is walking while they rest crouch.
I say we go in. Now, before they stand.
I tend to agree with Hubo here.
And without, if unless someone obviously impedes Hubo, he will crash into the scene.
I'm guessing from the silence that
The lack
nobody
of
is going
silence.
to impede Hubo.
Let the
Who would
Hulk loose.
impede Hubo?
Yeah.
There's no way
I
I could
feel like-
stop Hobo.
You'd have
I
to
feel
be
like
a
him
fool.
crashing is like half of his intent, and half not his intent, as his adversity is clumsiness. So perhaps he causes a bit more destruction than he quite intends. But hopefully they
All
will
right,
get the
and-
message across.
Again.
Are
not
you
so much a
crashing
surprise.
through? Are you crashing through like weapon in hand, ready, or are you just like running in? What exactly is the breakdown?
Well, I can't really not have my weapon in hand, as it is a massive Tetsubo. He'll have it, so he'll have it in both hands. Not quite in a ready to kill down the first thing that moves stance, but just in enough to like brace the impact of crashing through the wall / door that we're about to get in here, and then assess from there. Primary motive is just to like enter with as much entrance as possible.
I'll
It's
come in
Hubo
with
time.
my, yeah, there you go. I'll come in with my Daisho sheath.
There's a loud crash as wood crunches and paper rips. The door guarding this room torn to shreds. The brace is cracked as Hubo crashes himself through the door. Because of your large stature, I won't even make you roll. There's just no way that you could not break through. And the second that the door kind of crumples up under you, the wood kind of cracking away as you burst in, you'll hear a thud as a knife will land in the frame next to you, centimeters away from your face. You'll just hear a voice call out of a woman say, "Stop, or the next one hits you in the throat." And then a surprise kind of, huh? And you turn to look, and you'll see 11 dragon civilians like huddled in fear, now like starting and like backing away on their backs of their hands, trying to skirt away from the sudden crash. And you'll see that the woman who is standing is wearing dragon robes as well, holding another knife in her hand after the other one had just been thrown, nearly cutting your head off, missed intentionally to distract and to warn. And she'll be surprised to see you standing there with the others further back down the hall.
Where is Mirumoto Dono? He will just like yell out.
She'll look in surprise. I think he's being held up top. At least I think so. How did you get up here? I thought they all.
And you'll actually like a little bit of a laugh at that, as she asks how we got up here.
She looked to be a samurai.
She is wearing. She's not dressed in war gear. Of any sort. She does wear higher status robes. She at least seems to be in the family and not a peasant. Um, but she's not wearing like a daisho or any sort of armor. But she does have a knife in her hand and another one in the doorway next to Hubo's face.
She seemed to have a daisho with her.
No.
Okay. Does she look familiar?
Yeah, so you'd be able to recognize her pretty quickly. This is Mirumoto Ochio. She's one of the cousins of the Lord, a member of the noble family.
So, yeah, Misashi would enter the room, and upon recognizing the face, he would bow. Mirumoto-sama. And he'd kind
And
of
following along, Hubo just follow along in the bow with Masashi, kind of following his lead. Although it's kind of hard for a tall man to bow properly.
And Funaki, upon hearing a woman's voice, and she'd enter, she would actually grab the knife that's stuck in the door, and then she would approach the woman with the handle out, and she would bow and hand, without really saying anything, she would just bow and hand out the knife to the woman.
Yeah, she'll reach out and take it from your hand, kind of bringing it up along so that she's holding the two knives in the same hand uh, before taking one of them and pulling it back down onto her belt. And she'll like look to the four of you and say, "Rise, stand, please. I thought all the warriors had died, been killed."
Not all. And he'll stand proud. Come, we go to Mirumoto Domo. And essentially invite her to join this ruffian group of hotheads further up the castle.
And Funaki would look at Hubo and then look at the lady. Did we clear out like all of the guards as we went up these places, or just the ones that we encountered? Kind of like Hubo, where we were going really direct.
Direct. No time to waste here.
Yeah. So the specific path that you went through would be pretty cleared, unless they like found the bodies. Like somebody went out of their normal patrol and saw the carnage. But the other areas of the castle grounds would probably still have people around.
Okay, I would let her know that it's still not safe to wander around the castle there, but we are going to go rescue Mirumoto Gampachi.
Yeah, she would give a nod and kind of a laugh at Hubo's suggestion, and just kind of very lightly shake her head. And she'd kind of point down, and you'd see a chunk of the civilians have wounds of varying degrees, some of them quite severe, even. And the laugh would fade kind of back into a stern, grave visage. It'd say, "I have to care for the people here. Some of them, they might not make it." We have so few people left. If I can help even one of them, and she'll just trail off.
Toritomi looks at one of the people that seemed more severely hurt. I'm trying to look it up here. Techniques. There we go. I am trying to use Path to Inner Peace. There's an extra bonus there once, if I can find it. There we go. Path to Inner Peace. It says as a support action, I can make a theology water check, targeting myself or another character. If I succeed, I can mend the exhausted muscles of a target, remove fatigue. Plus, if I get opportunities, I can stop like bleeding or any kind of bad condition.
Awesome.
So, water theology. Get off my lap, Gato. One success, one opportunity. So, during this invocation, my voice would fall low and soothing. And I would pull another vial out from my belt. It's a salve. I would uncork it and pour it over one of the wounds and rub it in, and the magics would kind of mend the skin together, stopping the profuse bleeding.
Awesome. Yeah. The civilian will like look up in surprise, shock even, that a samurai of nobility would use their powers to help one of them of such low station. And it will like catch them off guard that she would so graciously aid them. But the gesture would be noted and very much appreciated. The commoner will like kind of grab onto your wrists to brace themselves into thank you, and they'll just like repeatedly just like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, and just they just like say it like over and over again. Just like so overcome with like gratitude and appreciation that they of such low status would be healed by someone like you.
And I wouldn't acknowledge the peasant, but I would look at Lady Ochio and stand up and place my salve back into my belt and acknowledge that even in times such as this, duty still binds.
Yeah, she would give a nod. And as she's like kneeling down next to another commoner, to like wrap some bandaging over their arm where a cut is bleeding to stop it. And then just kind of give a nod.
The path down is clear. Get these people free.
I will take them. I know the castle very well. I will keep a good eye. Thank you. Now go, my warriors. Save my uncle. Save our lord. Such is your station, and I trust that you can be successful. If you have fought through here and survived without too much, and she'll kind of like scan the bruises and cuts, but that you're all alive, then perhaps today is not lost against all odds. And if we all make it out through the other side, I will tell my uncle of what you did. I'll make sure that he knows of your heroism. And she'll say that to all of you, but she'll look specifically at you, Toratomi, as she says that, having seen your deed and only heard the others.
I would look to Musashi and to Hubo and to Funaki. We must hurry.
We must go,
Yeah.
yes.
Every second draws closer. Excuse us, Mirumoto-sama.
Yeah, she'll give a nod, silently dismissing you, allowing you to go on your way. You'll hear behind you and see if you were to turn and look. as the civilians are ushered out by Lady Ochio, out the way that you came, she would get the directions from you, Funaki, of exactly which way that you went, knowing that you would remember, uh, so that they can have the least likelihood of running into any opposition. And she will begin to shepherd the hurt civilians in that direction, leaving the four of you once again alone.
And up we ascend. Hubo takes the lead, as he always does.
And Funaki's eyes glaze back over as she starts to, again, listen with her eyes.
Is there a window in this room?
Sure, yeah, I'll say sure. This was on the wall, and not in the inner area.
I would look out and I would hope to see the Iron Mountain off to the west. Remembering more happy times before we rush up.
Yeah, the still sky, it's simultaneously like comforting and unnerving. The stillness of it, um, both a reminder of the beauty of the place that you defend, and also its stillness mirroring the now like desolate keep that you go through. It's strange the emotion that it invokes. It almost seems to it touch into opposites at the same time. But you would be able to continue, uh, make your way through the chamber, um, back into sort of the main area from the detour that had taken you to those civilians, up more stairs. We'd run into a couple more Ashigaru. They would be easily disposed of, given Funaki's power of sight. You could always get the jump on them. Uh, until you'd feel that sort of anxious buzz begin to take hold, even among the more stoic of you. You can't help it as you get closer and closer to the Lord. The curiosity, the fear of what might be awaiting you there. You can't help but feel it. Until finally, you're at the last stairway. You know, at the top, the doors will open into Mirumoto Dono's chambers. And that if he's anywhere and alive, that's where he would be. And Funaki, a couple things happen. For one, your sight, the vibrations, uh, would catch you, and you'd feel a sinking feeling in your gut. The anxiety would pang stronger through it as you sense one set of vibrations up in the room above, and two, a different sense of yours begins to send a tremble through you, a shudder through you, a sense that you don't feel very often, but seems to haunt you ever since. With your sixth sense, you feel a strange presence that grabs at you, a dark presence that seems to pulse out in waves from the room above. A supernatural feeling.
He is not being held by mortal man. There are evil spirits here.
I imagine that Toritomi could feel this as well, and would nod in agreement.
And as you say, evil spirits, Hubo is reminded of his time at the Hida Wall, up at the border of the Shadowlands, I believe it's called, and almost like shudders at the remembering the viscera and the atrocities that those strange beings can inflict on mortal man, and can only hope that this being that they're gonna face can be sundered by Tetsubo or Blade.
What are you feeling, Funaki?
I feel no guards. I just feel this presence, this evil spirit.
Made of the Shadowlands?
I don't know. I know it's not mortal. That's all I can say at this point. There is one person inside, which I'm assuming, I would hope it is him, Gambachi alive, Mirumoto, but we do not know. Something lies in there, and you should be prepared.
Whatever lies on the other side of that wall will defeat it for Shiro Mirumoto and for Genpachi.
We were given a chance at the bottom of the broken bridge. We'll not squander that chance here and now. We were dead men. And looks to the woman, and woman. And if we die, we die, but it's with honor.
With honor. So,
And does Hubo crash? I think Hubo would like to, if possible, get the jump on this room as well, in a smashy fashion.
All right, unless anybody has anything to say
No.
about that, Hubo will crash through the door. As you gear yourself to charge, Hubo, you can't help but feel the same sort of sense. Now that Funaki has described it, seems to pervade this deep feeling that takes over this. Some part of you, perhaps even for the first time in a long time, if ever, some part of you tells you to run, not into the door, but away. But it's not enough of you to stop. At this stage, no amount is enough to stop Hubo from doing what he will. And as the other three of you watch from the bottom of the stairs, Hubo will begin to run, bringing down his shoulder and Tetsubo into the door. There will be another crunch of wood. We'll actually take a couple charges, even for you, Hubo, this time, as the daimyo's door is far more reinforced than the paper and wooden braces that the doors below have. But eventually, the door would crack. The crunch of wood will give way. And you see on the ground 4 headless corpses of guards. One of them is the corpse of the warlord. And as you look up to see reorienting yourself and rebalancing from the charge and the crash falling down through the door. Uh, you'll see a man looking out the back window, surveying over the courtyard of Shiro Miyamoto. This man, he's tall, he's broad. He's as tall as you are, though not nearly as bulky. Uh, no man could boast such a thing. And then he'll turn and he'll look at you. And he's holding in his hand this huge blade, this odachi, the larger brother of the katana, held down to his side. And with the door now broken, Funaki, this strange sensation that you feel, you can pinpoint it now, that you can see. Does not come from this man, does not come from any presence above you, but from the blade itself. And this man will look, his face covered by plated armor. And you hear a voice come out from underneath the mask. You've done well to make it back here, my children. You hear the voice of Mirumoto Genpachi coming out from the mask. Luckily, it seems my plan was a success. I've lured him in, and he'll bring up the odachi and just look at it for a long moment. We can leave. And he'll look at you and wait.
And Hubo would he's there. He like puts the Tetsubo end first on the ground, and he would literally kneel and bow in the presence of his lord, knowing that he is safe and fit and well. Relieved to see him in good shape and not at all a corpse upon the ground.
Yeah, just out of fear for the station and respect for Mirumoto, I would join Hubo on the ground in a deep bow on my knees, but doing everything in my power to keep from questioning what exactly is going on here.
Misashi does the same out of reflex, but Misashi also has a trait called bluntness. So I don't think he would be able to help from inquiring Mirumoto-sama, what's happened here?
You can feel his eyes kind of like narrow from behind the mask as he'll like look down at you as you ask the question. And it'll be a moment, a pause. He'll make you wait for him to speak. It's time that we claim our rightful place. This one castle is fine enough. But now, and I'll kind of like look down at the blade, we can be so much more. And we will be.
I would not look up at him, but look to the side to Hubo and look over to Masashi. This isn't right.
Do you
For you to tell
vocalize?
me what's right.
And I think that Hubo would like give you a bit of a nudge when you say that this isn't right. Like something to more to like to get you to shut up, not so much as like clobber you over the head. But perhaps it's a bit rougher than you want it to be, or even Hubo wanted it to be.
Am I dead? Did your ferocity kill me?
Are you a minion NPC?
Yeah.
I flick you and you go flying.
Yeah. Genpachi will just shake his head. You have no place to tell me what is right. You do what I say. That is the end of it. Long the clans have fought, the families have fought. In futility, grabbing at power. That's always what politics have been. Power. That's all that there is. And if we want to rise above our stations, we have to take power. And we will. We'll take the Dragon Clan, and once it is ours, we will turn it against the others.
Artomi has heard enough. I stand up, I pound the ground, and as I stand up, I scream, "No! This is not the way. We are held in balance by the tenets of Bushido. You have betrayed my fealty. God damn you!" And I rush to attack.
And we'll roll initiative. So as far as
Yay.
which side the others will take, I guess we'll find out once it's
We'll find out when
guys'
it's our
turn.
turns. Yeah.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Hubo's a bit of a simpleton, which might be the undoing of you, Jason.
Well, you know. What are
So
characters
sorry.
in one shots for?
What
Exactly.
skill do we use for initiative? I forget.
So whatever approach you'd like your stance to start in, you'll use
Yeah.
that ring, plus
Okay.
tactics if you have it,
Tactics.
plus
Gotcha.
your. I'm gonna say this has probably got to be vigilance. I can't. Well, I'll let you guys decide. If you were honestly and be honest, expecting battle to turn out, you can use focus. So Jason, you can use focus for your initiative roll. Everyone
Okay.
else is probably going to be vigilance, I think, unless you were earnestly prepared for immediate combat to break out as it did, which I'll let you decide. Oh, God. This daimyo stat block is so stupid.
Oh no.
So I take 2 strafe from this, as literally someone goes to assault my master.
Okay, so
Yeah, and I'm gonna say everyone's gonna gain 2 strife as part of just the overwhelming
narrative.
shock,
Yeah.
I'd say, of your daimyo possessing such a blade that you can so clearly feel a dark presence from. And the fact that now conflict has broken out openly between you guys and him, or at least between Toratomi and the daimyo. The rest we'll see, as you said.
so when I get an exploding success, is that a success and an extra, or is that just an extra?
Yes, it's a success, plus you can roll another die and keep it for free, not counting towards the total. So it's very good.
Okay, cool, because I've got 2 of those. Hold on. 4 strife so far. right, there it is.
All right, do we have everybody in there? Okay. And initiative is already. So over here. Almost there. Sorry. The initiative is a bit weird to like order in your head sometimes.
I have the same problem when I'm doing a Genesis initiative
Yeah.
battle.
Alrighty. I think this is right. So I messed it up. Just be like, hey, you messed it up.
That looks right to me.
So Toritomi, as you dash forwards, your blade katana coming from its sheath. It's been a long time since you've seen Mirumoto Genpachi fight. As a daimyo, you're not often the first person on the front lines, but he is still a fearsome warrior. And despite his leadership being his primary role, any good Mirumoto is foremost a warrior, and anything else after is secondary. So once you spring into action, he will match you immediately, moving into action as well, with remarkable speed, despite his age. And he'll yell out, "Traitor! The three of you, kill him!" He'll shout out, and he'll point to you, Hubo, and he's going to use an ability, Lord's Command. As a daimyo, he'll use a secondary action. If you decide to follow the order to kill Toritomi, you will roll with the daimyo's ring ability instead of your own.
Okay. Is that what's his daimyo ring then? Or do I not know?
It depends on the approach.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll tell you.
Can I elect to use my own if mine happens to be better? Or do I have to use his? Okay.
It's
No.
not.
Okay. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
not better.
Bad chance.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So you don't have to. If you do something else, if you choose to engage Genpachi instead, you'll just roll your normal attack. But if you follow his specific task, you'll get a bonus, as he commands. But then he will turn back towards you, Toritomi, and before your katana range can close and you go to strike, he'll thrust out with this huge odachi, its reach, making it to you before you can make it to him. and he will attempt to impale you with it. Do it that way. All right, so he's going to take 3 strife, but he will reach out and he will successfully hit you with this odachi.
Rip.
You'll go to like bring up the katana to deflect it, but the strike is so ferocious and so powerful, enhanced by the ability of the sword itself, lending itself to him. That even as you go to deflect it, you're not actually able to even push it, despite the momentum saying that you should be able to knock it away. It continues to move anyways, despite your efforts. And because I'm mean, I'm going to use his 2 opportunity to turn this attack into a critical. So it will also inflict a wound. So you are going to take...
A wound?
We'll see the severity of it, but yes, a wound.
Big wound.
So you will take 7 damage towards your endurance minus whatever the whatever your physical defense is. It will count. So 7 minus your physical defense for your armor.
Okay, so I take 6.
And that will go towards your endurance. And then additionally, I need you to make a fitness check using whichever ring that you would like.
Earth seems the most likely. Trying to endure. Let's see. So, 3 success, 1 strife, and 1 opportunity.
Pretty good. All right, so the deadliness of his weapon is 9. Ouch. So you will reduce that by 3, so you'll take a wound at level 6, which I will tell you what that means in just a second.
Excellent.
Grab the table.
Is that the same one that the other guy faced? Was a deep wound?
Yeah, so that's a debilitating gash. So
Sounds lovely.
you will you will get the severely wounded condition in whatever ring that you use, which I think you said earth.
Uh-huh.
So basically anything that you do that uses the earth ring, your target number will be increased by 3 for that.
Ouch. Okay, and I'm bleeding.
And additionally, yes, because this is the odachi is I believe it's a razor edged. I can't imagine it's not. Just gonna real quick double check because bleeding is bad enough that I don't want to make a mistake with that.
Oh no.
It is razor edged. Okay.
So so bleeding. Do I
Yes.
take the strife that I just rolled, or do I wait until I make another roll?
You'll wait until your next roll. So
Okay.
yeah, it won't count until because basically that roll caused the bleeding to happen. So
Okay.
now everything forward.
Okay.
So you are now bleeding. So this blade will go to deflect it, and it'll just instead of like going through your heart, it'll like jab through your side into your torso. It'll cut right through one of your ribs as it cuts through like the side of your body, like butter. It won't even crack. It'll just slice. You'll immediately feel this like burning sting. Like you've taken blades cuts before, but this doesn't burn like a blade cut does. It feels different. And the blood will immediately begin to like pour down your side. So anytime you make a check now, going forwards until somebody stops the bleeding, anytime that you keep any strife, you will take damage equal to
Yeah. Ignoring all.
yeah, you'll take damage that's non-resistible equal to the number of strife that you keep. And if you
I've
take damage, whatever endurance that you're left at after the damage, you will take that much level of critical wound.
I imagine that this plays out like in an animated show where there's a bright flash and it shows like on the bottom it's like a comic strip of the blade entering into my torso. Then the top strip up here is like a close up of my face and my eyes go wide and shaking. It. This isn't possible.
Yeah, like the speed and like precision of the strike is like remarkable. The strength of it, almost aided by the force of the blade itself, causing it to like move more swiftly and with more strength than normal. Uh, you'll feel this like intense, burning, pulsing heat from the wound.
El Diablo. Wait, wrong culture.
And then, as we see Toritomi stuck there, the edge of the Nodachi having cut clean through the side of his rib cage, pouring blood from it. The katana that you were trying to thrust will like fall from the blow. And then Funaki, as quickly as you've entered, things seem to have changed just as quickly as you've breathed. First, Genpachi was here alive, but then you sensed this darkness within the blade. Then he commanded you to go with him. And then, before anybody could decide or speak, Toritomi has lunged forward, attempting to stab Genpachi through the heart, but was stopped by the thrust of this Odachi blade that he now still hangs from and bleeds from. What do you do?
Funaki is not quite staggered. She is battling within herself what she's seeing here, what everything that's happened, battling the thoughts about Genpachi, this sword, what it all means. And she would like to invoke the Shuji, Lord Tagashi's insight. Once per game, as an action, I can make this meditation void check to seek cosmic wisdom regarding a quandary in front of me. My quandary being, do I follow my Lord or do I not? So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm in the void stance, I guess, now.
Awesome. I love that.
Let's
see it.
Meditation. Okay.
Remember, I'm not saying that you need to, but remember, you guys all have your void points.
Oh yeah. I'm not
Make
going to do
sure
it on
that
this
that's a
one.
thing.
Yeah. I
Which those
forgot
might
to
be
do it on
handy.
that last one, and I should have way back. Okay. So it's a TN2. I get to keep 3 dice. So that'll be 2 successes and an opportunity.
Alrighty. Let's tackle the opportunity while we're still at it too. Go for void. Alrighty. So for void, for an opportunity, you can either choose a ring that's not your void ring and reduce the target number of whatever your next check using that ring is by 1. It's pretty handy. Or you can feel a chill down your spine, notice a sudden silence, or detect sign of a supernatural if there is a spiritual disturbance in the scene, which you can already feel.
Yeah. I think I'll choose a fire stance and a reduce the TN for the next fire ability.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you were to attack, your TN would be 1 instead of 2, which would give you a lot of extra success.
Okay.
Alrighty. And then, so these specifics, what does this look like as you call this spiritual being to give you wisdom?
So it's almost like she flings out her hands and arches her back and looks to the sky, and she pleads with Lord Tagashi, and I either receive a vision or I hear in my head his words, telling me, giving me an option of basically what I should do in this quandary that lies before me.
Yeah. So as you raise your hands and plead desperately for the guidance of Lord Tagashi, everything in the room seems to like stop. You can see Tirotomi hanging on the blade. Genpachi is like silently held there. The others like still looking up in surprise, yet to act. And then you blink, and suddenly you're not in this room. You're in this garden that seems to like extend out in all directions. Exceptionally like well kept. It's beautiful, remarkable, even. You can see where a waterfall like falls down into a pond that's right next to you. And on the bench next to the pond that overlooks this garden, looking down at like all the fish that like swim around within it, who is the person that you see sitting here? It's like a mentor or a loved one, someone that's gone now, that's been long dead, but has had an impact in your life, that's sitting here.
I see my previous mentor, Kento Tagashi Kento, the man who taught me so much of the ways of the Tagashi.
Yeah, he'll sit and he'll turn his head slowly to look at you and give like a warm smile to you. And he'll like place a hand down at the side on the bench. Like, come, sit, child.
Kento. And she would sit beside him. It's been too long.
Yes, it has. Tell me, you seem troubled. What ails you? Tell me.
I do not know what to do. My lord, Mirumoto Gambachi, he was attacked. He was taken hostage. We infiltrated and tried to rescue him. And when we get there, we find him alone. The guards all dead, but this vile blade, this in his hand, and he's talking now about taking over the Dragon Clan and then the rest of the clans and gathering all the power for himself, and I am torn. He is my lord, but I fear he's also not my lord at the same time.
Just kind of give a calm, slow nod, a nod that you've seen many times. Each time that you ask for wisdom of something that he knows. It's like when you ask something that to a master or teacher is trivial, but to a student is like exceptional. Um, but he'll just give a slow nod and then look. Well, what do you think is more important? Loyalty or good? Is it right for a lord to ask his children to do dishonor? Some will say yes. The scorpion certainly seemed to think so. Others would say that it's dishonor, that it's not right, that it's the Lord's obligation to do well by his children. What do you think?
I think it's dishonorable to ask those below you to dishonor themselves. It is not the way.
And you, where is your loyalty truly at the end of things? Is it to that man? To the gods, the kami? To me? To yourself? If he asks you to dishonor yourself, do you have right to say yes or no? Or do you follow blindly, no matter what he says, no matter where his ambition guides him or you?
Your words are wise. I needed to speak to you. My way is clear. I know now what I must do.
He'll shake his head slowly and laugh. My words are not wise. I have told you nothing, merely asked. You're the only one who has spoken and made any decisions. The wisdom has always just been within you. How many times have I told you?
And Funaki would, the composure would crack, and you would see a smile towards this man. Always right. Kento-san, always right. And I think
He'll
she
just
would get up from
laugh.
the bench.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, she would get up from the bench at that, I think, knowing what she has to do.
Yeah, you'd hear the slightest, tiniest chuckle that he'll let out. It's like the most that you've ever seen him like show. Just this like tiny, hidden little chuckle. But as you stand, you get this strange sensation, like if you've laid down for a while and stand up too quickly. Um, that rushing feeling as suddenly the garden will like fade as you stand, and you're back in the room atop the castle at the peak, and you see what lies before you again. Toritomi hanging from the Nodachi, and Hubo and Masashi looking up from their knelt positions in surprise. And then, as quickly as things seem to stop, they move again.
And so that was my action. I can move still at this point, right? Yeah. I'd like to try to move around the room a little bit so that I'm not right with the four of us still in one area. I'd like to kind of go around towards the side of the room. But as I'm going, I'm going to, like, just before I leave, I want to say to Musashi and Hubo, he dishonors us. That sword he wields is tainting him. This is not our Lord. And she would go to the side at that point. And yeah, that's all I can do at this time.
Hubo, you see on one hand your companion hanging from a blade. The defensive instinct kind of bursts in, but at the same time, the Lord stands there, towering over this man, both in stature and in power and in station. And he's commanded that you strike this man down for betraying him, that the punishment for a samurai who goes rogue is death. It's your duty to bring this man down. And yet Funaki stands and seems to side with Toritomi.
Hubo, you can feel and hear kind of the wood of the Tetsubo crack underneath under the weight of the grip of Hubo as he like clenches hard upon it, as he uses the sturdiness of the Tetsubo to lift himself off the ground. This several 100-pound man straining, and as he does so, he has a bit of hesitation to him, but he stands and takes a step towards you, Toritomi, and he would say to you, "I'm sorry, Toritomi-san," as he brings the Tetsubo straight up and down upon your head in one fell swoop, obeying my lord's order. Order, not his odor. I mean, that is probably also honorific as well.
You should most definitely avoid that.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in the armor for who knows how long. So I'm gonna, so I get to roll his dice plus my melee skill.
Yeah, well, the ability.
And I don't know what
Oh,
kind of bonuses I get.
You can actually use either of his. So it might be both.
Add them together.
Character means the daimyo's ring or skill. So I guess one or the other. So what's your melee, Frank?
I have a melee 1, and I'll use. I think
so
I'm using. Yeah.
You should use his skill then. If you're trying to
Cool.
maximize your damage, then you should use his
Yeah.
skill, not his ring.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Okay.
So whichever ring that you use,
Yeah, I'm trying to
your
decide the
approach will
ring
be
here.
yours, but you will roll 4 melee dice as your skill.
Yeah. I feel like he's not acting out of passion here, but out of duty. And I think that this resolve is making him use his earth ring rather than his fire, as he is remaining grounded to his truths and ideals. So, I mean, either it's earth or void, and I prefer to use earth because it's a bigger number. So I get to. So you said 5 or 4 melee skill.
4 skill dice.
Okay, so that's 3 earth and 4. So I only get to pick 3 of these things. Is that how it works? Because
Yes.
I'm using my ring. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I got 2 exploding dice. Oh boy. Okay. So I'm gonna pick those
I
2.
think this might be the end.
Okay. So I pick this one, this one, this one, this one. And this one too. Okay, so I get 3 success, 3 advantage, and 2 strife, which is fitting for me clubbing over an ally in the head.
I don't know how much pain that I want to bring, so I'm just going to throw it out there because it's mechanically possible and I haven't mentioned it yet. But you can use 2 opportunity to, instead of doing whatever opportunities can do, you can make that a critical hit instead.
I think
by
that's
doing
very,
that.
very fitting. Yes. I'll like to spend 2 of my opportunities to do a critical hit on this thing. I don't know what I can do with a 3rd opportunity as an earth stance. I can't remember what the earth stance ones were. I think it was like the lower a strife.
You can reduce an ally's strife, I know, is one of them.
I
The other is to, I think, like, ensure that your action is more safe, which doesn't feel right either. Yeah, act carefully to minimize the consequences of failure or other dangers that could arise from the task.
I mean, I would flavor that as like a nice clean, swift killing blow, so that he will not, so that Toritomi will not live through this. So make sure it's kind of almost like an instant kill rather than a painful death. You know, a clean headsman's axe, so to speak.
Alrighty, so we're gonna need to do a little bit of calculating here. So first of all, how much damage do you do total?
So I have a 7 on my Tetsubo, but I rolled 3 successes.
That's an extra, so that'd be 8.
8 damage. And he has a soak of
Jason,
1, I believe.
What's your
Yeah.
physical defense?
1.
Okay, so you'll take 7 damage, and what does that put your endurance at
-3.
after that? So it counts up. So what would if you were to go the other way, what would it be?
Oh, okay. So I was looking at that
It
wrong.
counts up towards the max. So whatever your max is +3, I guess,
Yes.
which
13.
is
13.
13.
So,
Oh, God.
I pushed him
Okay.
over it, so that
Um,
means he goes unconscious, and then he has another critical strike or
Yeah.
something.
Well,
Yeah.
could be he'll take a critical strike equal to his endurance after the damage, which is agonizing death. The blow is mortal, and the character knows it. Well, actually, you'll get a chance to resist, Jason. You'll need to roll a fitness check, with whatever ring that you'd like to use. Probably not Earth. I'd recommend because your Earth is pretty fucked.
Yeah, you already have a +3 difficulty on Earth.
I think I'm fucked no matter what.
Is it fire to keep your passion in your spirit and belief?
I'm gonna go.
Is it
go
void?
with void. As
Void to
dark
know
as-
that death has come.
Yes. Acceptance.
Alrighty.
Okay. 2 strife and 2 exploding.
Okay, that's 2 successes. I'll go ahead and roll those extra dice.
Wait, can I not re-roll those because of my wound?
Do those dice have
Strife, yes.
well,
Oh,
okay, so you would take damage from using the strife, which would then re-trigger the critical effect and take more damage. So probably not.
He can't keep dice that have strife on them though, right?
Yeah, I can't keep
You
that.
can
Physically can't.
you could keep them because I don't think your composure is maxed yet. But if you do keep them, you'll take damage for each one you keep, which will then increase your endurance, which will take another critical hit from taking
So-
damage while you're bleeding.
So I'm dead if I do, and I'm dead if I don't.
yeah.
This is what Glenn felt like.
So, well, let me get you the rest of the agonizing death condition, just so you can know exactly the words. So, because it's not immediate.
Let,
So
let
the
me tell
character
you
suffers-
exactly how you're going to.
Oh no, it's not immediate.
So
But
if you don't take so basically if you take the strife, you are gonna die because you'll take another wound, which will be like 18 or something like at that
Mhm.
point. But agonizing death says so you'll take severely wounded in that ring, so your void ring will also be fucked. But you'll get the dying condition for 3 rounds. So you'll basically be unconscious and bleeding out, and you'll die in 3 turns.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Well, at least he's
Which-
unconscious. That's
I
fine.
think that's
Okay.
the alternative is to like die right this second. So do you want to die an epic single hit blow, or do you want to die slowly and potentially, maybe, probably not get saved?
Okay.
it's possible.
I got hit in the back of the head, so my skull is smashed in from behind, and I believe my eyeball flew out and is
Yeah.
hanging along the side of my face.
My Tetsubo is 3 inches deep into your skull, and is
I am in this fuzzy place as my body is on the ground, kind of twitching.
Good luck getting my
Yeah.
Tetsubo out of your head now.
Yeah, there's a horrifying crunch. The other 2 of you, Masashi and Funaki, will just see your companion Toritomi, his head caved in. Blood immediately just begins to pool and spread along the ground, not unlike the bridge and the beheaded samurai that you left there. It's unclear if Toritomi is alive or not. He doesn't move and he's not breathing. If he's not dead now, any moment he will be. And Genpachi, you can't see him behind his mask, but you can feel the wicked grin that will come over his face as his loyal servant Kubo indeed does follow his order and dispatches the traitor. And he'll look to the other two, Funaki, who's walked strafed along the room, and then over to Masashi, and we'll see how Masashi acts.
So, with all that being done, there's a moment where Masashi is just trying to kind of take it all in. And as he does in stressful situations, he doesn't communicate anything. Instead, he takes his wakizashi and he pulls from beyond his Ashigaru armor at his giri with the dragon mon on it, and he cuts it off, throws it to the floor, stands up, and runs out of the room. He hit his max strife, and he's retreating from the battle.
Ooh. It's awesome. But Masashi will flee, not willing to side with the Lord, but not willing to fight against him. The stress becomes too much, and he'll leave. Toritomi bleeds out on the ground, the blood continuing to pool and continuing to spread. Genpachi will look over to you, Funaki. He'll point the blade directly at you. The blade is long enough that even from where you stand, it's close enough that it grazes your chest. And he'll look you right in the eyes. I wouldn't do anything stupid if I were you. And he'll flip Toritomi's body over with his foot at you so that his face up, as if looking at you. Kneel. Drop your weapons. It's an order.
Funaki, when she sees Hubo cleaving the skull of Toritomi, and then Masashi running from the room, it's like all turns to her and says, "Kneel." She does, but it's not voluntary. Her legs just literally crumble from beneath her, and she falls to her knees. And she reaches for the wakizashi to do as he said, to drop it. And she pulls it out. But then instead of dropping it, she's going to plunge it into her belly and commit seppuku.
His eyes narrow down at you as you do so. You can't see it underneath his mask, but his face would twist into a frown. As you fall down, the blood pooling, mixing with the pool that Toritomi had left behind. He'll bring the Odachi back down to his side, shake his head. Shame. Lose two good warriors. If only they could see what I saw. And look over to you, Hubo, and then nod towards the door. Let's go.
And Hubo will nod and bow ever so slightly as he unsticks the Tetsubo from the squelching, sickly sound of the shattered skull. And he feels a strange mix of emotions. But he knows that Mirumoto Gampachi is right in all this, at least. At least he knows that he should be right. And he wonders whether or not killing off Torotomi was the right thing to do, but that thought is quickly put to the side as it does not matter whether it was right or wrong. It just mattered that he was loyal at Mirumoto-san's Mirumoto Domo's side, and he will follow, or even lead whatever the Lord wishes.
Impachi will like stop for a moment as you walk towards the door. I'll turn around towards the window that looks down over the courtyard, and I'll like put his fingers up to his lips and let out this like piercing loud whistle. Then he'll let out a shout, "Ochio!" After a bit of time will go by, from outside the window, Lady Ochio will come through. She's climbed up. Her like noble robe has like now opened a bit. She's wearing shinobi clothes underneath it. And I'll look to her, say, "One ran away. Find him. Bring him back or kill him. Either one." She'll nod wordlessly and then disappear out through the window again into the shadows of the night. He'll walk towards the door to meet you, Hubo, and then continue to walk past you to lead you back down through the castle. As the two of them leave, Toratomi, as the last bit of blackness comes for you, what are your final thoughts as everything begins to fade?
God damn it.
Fair enough. And with that, the wound is too much, and the blackness comes. And Funaki, you see the small bit left in Toratomi fade away. His eyes roll back, he lets out his last breath. The blood continues to pour from your stomach. The edges of your vision start to close. And you can feel it too. And then for just a moment, you're still back in that garden, sitting next to your mentor. And he'll look over to you. He'll put a hand on your shoulder. "It's okay, child. You chose bravely. You acted with honor. Sometimes that's all that we can do."
Yes, I could not do any more. Next time.
Perhaps next time. And the garden will fade as Funaki fades with it. And we see that room now with 6 corpses inside of it, the guards and Toratomi and Funaki. As the blood pools and fills the chamber, we zoom out as we see Genpachi and Hubo walking back down out of the castle courtyard. We see the bridge where the group came to start their journey into the castle, with Misashi running across it before a woman appears in front of him as if from nowhere. And then the night will go too dark to see. And that is where we'll close the session out.
Well, that was one of the more gruesome deaths.
That was pretty bad.
That was a game.
Didn't go as planned.
Hubo
Not quite.
knows not the schemes of the Dragon Clan, but he knows Bushido.
Smash.
He knows Hubo Smash.
And smash he did.
Smash he does.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was really curious who was gonna go along and who was gonna fight. I had no idea. I really could have gone any way.
I think more than anything, Toritomi was just more insulted than he could take.
Oh, definitely. It makes total sense.
So, in the extended universe, Misashi wins a duel against a shinobi woman and becomes a Ronin.
Yeah.
That's where I was headed for that. I was either gonna get away and become a Ronin or die fighting.
Hey, that would be a good little mini
Two
session.
fitting fates, yeah.
So, Reflections game win.
Right?
There you go.
There you have it. Musashi versus Lady Ochiya.
Ooh.
That sounds like a session.
Yeah, that's one of those tough, like semi-rigged final fights where it's like, if you guys all fight, it's difficult, but you could win. Like it's very
Yeah.
possible. Like with just how the rules in this system, how they work, like it's pretty difficult for one person to beat four. But the second that it turns around and there's a 2
death.
versus 3 when someone's already hurt, that's gonna
It's like,
turn
hey,
the tides very quick.
you protect me. Okay, I mean that's what I've been here to do the whole time. Yeah, he picked the perfect person to Daimyo's favor.
He knows his samurai. He knows his
Yep.
servants. What to say to who? All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and get the broadcast cut off here. But if there's anything, we'll go ahead and do a quick roundabout. If there's anything that you guys want to plug and share thoughts on the system, since I know this was most people's, I think, first time. Basically, maybe even all of you was first time. Yeah, and we'll go ahead. I think we'll go Connor, Jason, Josh, then Karen.
I was Connor. I had a lot of fun. This is my first time playing L5R, first time making a character in L5R. So just really went into this really green. I really liked how the strife mechanic worked and how it just like literally gave you a mechanical representation of your own role play and like and even of the narrative too. There's a lot of cool things the system does that really adds to that kind of play, which I really like. I did find that the 20 questions were a bit gruesome to get through, especially when I had no idea what I was doing. But it all worked out in the end, and I had a lot of fun here. Yeah, well, thank you for running this this very Jeff Doty-ish game.
Yeah, it was very much in the standard line of things for me. I like to pull those moves. But yeah, the 20 questions definitely get better like the more that you do it. Like making any character in a new system, the first couple times it's a little tough. Yeah, I'm with you on the strife thing. I think it's really great. And there's a lot of subsystems too that we didn't touch into just because of the nature of the game. Like we didn't get to do any intrigues or something, which is really cool. There's a lot about like samurai culture and the characters that like on the artistic and cultural side, which didn't get as much love this time. So there's a lot more to the system to explore. But I'm glad you liked it so far.
All right. Hey, everybody. Jason Smith. Man, I really enjoyed this quite a bit. I've been itching to play this for a while. I really dig the system, and the more I play games put out by Fantasy Flight, the more I just really fall in love with the vision that they've got going on. So it's just unique. It's fun. Bouncing off what Connor said, it uses mechanics well to play into how you're playing your character and informs you on different ways you can play your character. I mean, I went into the 20 questions, which is a slog. Its first went into it with one vision and came out on the other side with a completely different character. And I liked it. And this was a good little intro. When I get more time, I plan on running some of this. I want to dig into this system a little more. It's got some stuff that I really want to explore. But yeah, thanks, Jeff, for putting it on. Thanks for everybody for playing. Josh, it's the first time I played with you, man. So yeah, that was a hell of a lot of fun. Thanks for coming along here. And of course, Connor, love playing with you, dude. And Karen,
I love bashing your skull in from both sides of the table as a player and as a DM.
And hey, that has happened. That's the thing. And of course, Karen is always a joy to be at the table with. I don't have anything to promote except encourage anybody that's not yet, go to AtCon. Go to AtCon. It's a lot of fun.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate the kind words. It's very far and few between that we get to be in the same game, just with the nature of our schedules. But it's always a joy every time. So I appreciate your plan. Yeah, I think one of my absolute favorite things about this system is exactly what you said of like the character creation and the mechanics integrates so easily into the lore. Like it really does tie in the setting and the system into the same experience, which is like so cool and something that a lot of systems don't do. And it makes making characters and playing in the world like so easy.
100%.
Awesome, Josh.
Hey guys, my name is Josh. You can find me on YouTube at Roll the Bones or on Twitter at Roll the Bones TV. Tonight I played Mirumoto Masashi, gone rogue, should he win his duel. But yeah, this was my first time playing L5R in any iteration. I have a little bit of knowledge about the old lore, but coming into it, I want to say that I can't mirror what you guys said about the 20 questions. I actually went through the 20 questions pretty easily. My problem was putting it over to the character sheet without hitting any snags. I had a lot of questions there, but all in all, my character concept survived the 20 questions. It came out pretty much how I expected it to, but I did like the integration from how your character does things in the 20 questions to the stats. I feel like that's a good idea. The system as a whole, I really liked. I liked the strife mechanic. I liked how the fights were. They were quick and gruesome. Definitely easy to die in this game, which is really a change of pace from like your D&Ds and whatnot. But yeah, Jeff and Karen, I've played with you guys multiple times. It's been a real blast. Jason and Connor, this is my first time playing with y'all, and y'all knocked it out the park. It was a true pleasure. Thanks, Jeff, for running this game, and thank you guys for all bringing your game to the table. It was a blast.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you playing. Again, we don't get to play super all that often, but it's always a joy. And yeah, it's pretty crazy how like once you hit the threshold of being in like the danger zone, how quickly it turns from that into death. Like it kind of builds a little slowly sometimes with like the physical resistance and the damage. But once you hit that endurance mark, you are just in a bad spot very, very quickly. and wounds can go a long way to making that very sudden as well. That bleeding condition is so nasty. That is a killer right there. Alrighty, last not least, Karen.
Hey everyone, I'm Karen. I played Funaki this evening. This was my very first foray as well into L5R. I've been itching to play since it came out in the fall, and I am so happy I did this. I know this is kind of touched on the iceberg that is L5R, and I am so very keen on it, and I would like to dive in and really get my teeth into it and play. This was awesome. Thank you. The twist at the end, that was great. Love that. Love playing with all of you guys. The 20 questions were difficult for me in the beginning, just because there was just so much to learn as you're doing it. Not that it was hard to answer the questions, it was just trying to learn the lore and the mechanics and everything all at the same time. So just like any new system, but I can see going forward as you get used to the system, that 20 questions will help me, for one, make a character better. I usually, when you have so many options, I never know what I want to do. So narrowing it down question by question is like a perfect way for me to make a character. So I do like that. I've loved the narrative dice system since I first started playing it. So this is a really cool take on it, and I'm excited to keep playing and trying it out some more. As for promoting things, I have a channel called Myth and Gears, and we're going to play session 7, I think it is, of Black Sails in Dark Skies, our pirate campaign that's going on. Jason is actually in that with me, so I can't wait to do some nasty things to them tomorrow. So you check that out. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeff, for running this game. I had a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've played in Karen's games, and they're great. So you should definitely check out that campaign if you get a chance. Yeah, it's the 20 questions. It's definitely, since multiple people mentioned it, the first time is definitely tough. I think when I made my very first character in this system, it took literally 3 or 4 hours because I had to constantly flip through mechanics and ask Chris questions and about the lore and all this sort of stuff. But the next time it took an hour and a half, and then the third time it took 45 minutes. So it's one of those things that it can definitely be overwhelming to start out with, but the more you kind of get into it and play around with it, it definitely gets easier. And Karen, you're absolutely right about this being the tip of the L5R iceberg. There's a whole lot in this system that we didn't even do, but I know I'll definitely be looking to run and play in a whole lot more of the system because I think it's great. It's quickly becoming one of my favorites. But yeah, that'll go ahead and I think wrap it up here. But thanks all 4 of you for playing. You guys all killed it as usual. I played with all of you before, and that's exactly as expected. But thanks to anybody who checked it out, and I'll see you guys next time.